appoint a new judge before the trial resumes in July.
As NPA, we are disappointed as we were waiting for the accused to testify. We were done with the witnesses waiting to hear the accused's testimony. The lawyers made an application citing how they believed that the judge seemed to have already taken a side and was biased towards the matter. This was after he got a sick note from the accused doctor. The judge did tell us that he had a conversation with the doctor, and this made the lawyers question his ethics. Doing that, the lawyer asked him to recuse himself as he was being biased. We expect a new judge as the matter is expected to resume in July.
The family of 3-year-old Mojalefa Savuli, whose body was found in a stream in Tepisong, west of Johannesburg last week, say they will cherish the memories they shared with him. Mojalefa was laid to rest at Slovo Park Cemetery in Johannesburg today. He was reported missing over a week ago after he had followed other children to a local shop. Police say circumstances surrounding the child's death are still unknown and investigations continues. Mojalefa's uncle Solomon Savuli says they were still expecting much from the little boy. And finally, further afield, Ukraine says it's come under thousands of attacks from Russia since the Kremlin implemented a unilateral 3-day ceasefire on Wednesday night. Ukraine's military has reported nearly 200 clashes on the front line, 18 airstrikes and almost 400 instances of shelling. But the skies across most of Ukraine have been quieter. The BBC's Frank Gardner has the details.
The waves of drones and ballistic missiles that Russia has been sending across the border almost nightly have been absent for a second night in a row. But close to the Russian border, sporadic fighting has continued in places. Ukrainians are scornful of Russia's unilaterally declared 3-day ceasefire, believing it's designed mainly to protect today's victory parade in Moscow. Ukraine wants a longer 30-day ceasefire. President Zelensky, in his nightly address, spoke of a productive phone call with President Trump, in which he reiterated his readiness for that ceasefire.
The top story this hour, International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola says that it is important to highlight the issues that women are facing when addressing pertinent matters in Africa. Headlines at 3:30 for SFM News. I'm Kolofelo Defo.
And coming up in your sports this hour, Conrad appointed Proteas men's all-format head coach, Rivero gunning for Nedbank Cup trophy against Kaizer Chiefs, and IPL suspended for 1 week. More details at 3:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Mama.
This F-bomb brought to you by Sanlam.
They are called lone sharks, not lone bunny rabbits, not lone puppies, cutesy cutesy. The clue is in the name, Mama.
Finances is not a dirty word. Let's talk about it, Mzansi. Find out how at livewithconfidence.co.za. Sanlam. Sanlam Life is a licensed life insurer, financial services and registered credit provider.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So whether you're in Grahamstown or you're in Durban, or whether you're in Johannesburg or Cape Town or somewhere in between, Polokwane comes to mind. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the National Pulse. There's no question about it. In terms of the end of the week, all roads do lead to the Moses Mabhida Stadium, because I get a sense today there's already lots of people. They haven't been talking about it already all week. They definitely are talking about the Soweto Derby, and naturally, on the sports bulletins and in the other features around traffic issues, we will absolutely need to talk about it. So, my name's Ashraf Garda. What do you think? What is moving the National Pulse today besides that big Soweto Derby? I can think of many things, but I certainly want to hear from you in terms of what you say. We will touch on the issue of the newly elected Pope shortly, but let's go first things first. And by the way, I must tell you that there's a story of about 40-odd South Afrikaners who've now been granted refugee status in the USA, and in fact, they are arriving in the USA or landing there like imminently, Monday, Tuesday. We'll chat to Sherwin Bryce-Pease about that later on. But here's one that should get you thinking. The Gauteng department, the Gauteng government says that 30%, so almost 4 out of 10 of senior officials in the Gauteng department have failed their lifestyle audits. What does this mean? What are the implications? Let's find out with Vuyo Maga, who's the spokesperson for the Gauteng provincial government. Vuyo, I appreciate your time and thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
No, good afternoon, Ashraf. How are you?
Well, how are you? I mean, I would think this is a cause for big concern. 4 out of 10.
No, not really, actually, because I think we are quite happy that institutions that were placed in place are starting to give us reports, because we'd rather be aware of what is the problem than to hide the problem because we want to look good. Now, the context of this, Ashraf, you'll know that the Gauteng Ethics and Advisory Council, which is really led by eminent people. Amongst those people, as I've said before, it will be like someone like Dr. Terence Nombembe, Tulima Tonsela, Zola Machavu. These are independent, prominent South Africans that have been in the forefront to fight corruption. It was government of Gauteng, and that's the only government really in South Africa, that volunteered to say, can you please continue to check the level of ethics within our shores as a provincial government, because I don't think we're under any illusion that there's a problem of corruption and some of the issues that are related to that are eating on the fiber of the province. So when the report really came, obviously the Premier accepted it, and then obviously you said we'll respond to this report in 14 days. And the beauty of it is that this is a second report. The first report was that do a lifestyle audit of us as the executive committee, meaning the MECs, the Premier, and then go down to HODs, which are the accounting officers. We even then said went further, go to look at the supply chain management around that. So we're quite happy that that council is basically doing work. There's no other province that does that, by the way, that opens itself up.
Okay, so I think it's wonderful that you're doing so. As you said, you're not sweeping it under the carpet. So that's the good news, that you're being proactive. You want to get things right for the province and for the country by extension. That's fantastic. Now, having said that, let's go back to my original point, that having been very open about it, you now have a situation where 4 out of 10 senior officials, not juniors, not first timers, senior officials have failed their lifestyle audit. Now that must be a cause for concern.
And of course it is. As I've said, Ashraf, when we received the report yesterday, it was fairly with all the executive managers receiving it, and the Premier obviously accepted the report and said, we will then come back to you. And I can tell you now, we don't have a history of hiding reports in Gauteng. We will be able to tell you what are the consequences that will then have to take within that. What we are, obviously was said about it, that you've got the senior managers that are implicated in that fashion, but we're quite happy that we're going through this pleading process, and we're quite confident when we get out of it, you'll then have a much more better Gauteng, officials and senior managers that will be able to serve the people of Gauteng.
Okay.
So, of course, immediately was said, but I think we're quite happy with the report.
All right. So what happens next? I mean, you've got a report. I take it you have names as well, right? I mean, you've got specific names of these senior officials.
Yeah, the report, I think, will obviously interact with the council. As I've said to you, the Premier and the executive literally received the report like the rest of us in the province. So the Premier will then sit with his executive on the 14th of May, which is next week, Wednesday, table the report officially to the cabinet, the Gauteng cabinet, and respond within 14 days on what we're going to do to make sure that we implement that report, because he has already acknowledged the report and accepted all their findings as well as their directive.
All right, help us understand this, because sometimes we all get confused in these media spaces. When we say somebody has failed a lifestyle audit, what does that actually mean?
Well, geez, Ashraf, I went through that process. You don't want to go through it. So what basically they do is that they pull out, obviously, your finances in terms of your accounts and everything. This is done by the security agency, the South African Security Agency, and then obviously look at how you basically live your life, and you almost make a comparative nature, is what you are having and what you are earning in correlation. And then they go and, I will speak for, I don't know if other senior managers Joseph went through this, but for my end, they had to put that, those things called the lie detector test, and then start you to ask you a lot of questions and basically want to check that. That is almost an advanced aspect of it, but it's really to check is what you are earning and what you are having justifiable. If it's not justifiable, can you please explain how did you get whatever that you basically have? On the basis of that, then we are actually, the state security makes a verdict, or the ethics council basically makes a verdict on it.
Okay, now, yes, I know maybe we're preempting and maybe difficult to say certain things, but the implications of this, if it follows through its logical course, essentially what it's saying is you're earning 10,000 rands, but your lifestyle suggests that you're earning 100,000 rands, for example, in terms of the things that you do, right? The implications of that from a Gauteng province point of view would be that these are people who are actually earning money elsewhere that they haven't declared it, or they're doing something that we're not familiar with. And the implications would that be something around corruption? I mean, that would be the essence of it, isn't it?
Well, I think that would be the first area to really assume to be the case, or whatever the case might be, that they are bringing. And if you then need to get further, law enforcement agencies to get closer in terms of the investigation, and then obviously they'll have to deal with that. But what we are interested in is what you are having, what we give you as your remuneration of your work, of your professional work, in correlation with what you are currently having, and then on the basis of that, we basically deal with that. But if we've got difficulties, then obviously there are institutions that we just actually renewed our agreement with, the SIU and other institutions, that we can always use them at our disposal as a Gauteng provincial government.
All right, so the last thing on that one there is that in terms of this lifestyle audit, if we find that there's issues of corruption, I mean, that would be a case for an investigation, right? And I understand the law must take its course. So that's one part of it. But if there's a lifestyle audit that seems very, unclear, and it just seems like the person's living a very, very comfy lifestyle that's unjustified on his Gauteng provincial secretary salary, then what discretion does the Premier have when they sit down on the 14th of May? What can he not do?
No, I think logically, Ashraf, you then obviously call that said individual basically to come and explain themselves. And that process will have basically been done. And I think the Premier will then obviously request some of the law enforcement agencies that have got the technical abilities to check if there is something untoward. Because if you can have some stuff that you can't explain, and I think all law enforcement agencies ought to have an interest into that particular matter. Ours is to basically refer you to them.
Okay. Anything else you wish to add that you think is really important from an audience to know?
No. I think we are going through a bleeding process, which I think is quite necessary, Ashraf, as a provincial government. As I've said, we know of no other provincial government that opens itself up through this particular issue. And I think as it goes through, we will be able, at the ultimate end, to really know that things are actually moving in the right direction. This obviously will emanate from even an open tender system, because we've been at pains to make sure that we're not going to sweep this thing under the carpet, because South Africans know we've got a problem of corruption that is really undermining the development of our country, and we can't pretend that does not happen. So the important thing is that their government is basically doing something about it, and it's been doing it since the 5th administration, the 6th administration, and the 7th administration. Importantly is that we do act on all the reports that we basically have, and I think the residents of Gauteng are quite aware on some of those reports that we've basically acted upon, those who've been found wrong.
And maybe that last part is critical, because one of the things that we've had from the Zondo Commission and many of the recommendations is there's a perception from the people that make up, the National Pulse audience here on SAFM. It's like somebody's not acting. So your point, it's important we do act. Much appreciate your position and your commitment to acting. Vuyo Maga, spokesperson for the Gauteng provincial government. Thank you for your time. So there you are. Close to 37% is the number, so close to 4 out of 10 senior officials, and the key is senior, in the Gauteng government have failed their lifestyle audits. Now, I'm sure you have a view on this, right? Yes, that explain yourself will take its course, but it doesn't mean you can't share your thoughts right away. 0614 104 107 if you're going to WhatsApp in text or voice note form, and then you can call in live when we go live 086 000 2032, and there's nothing stopping you using social media. Just tweet us right away. It's always on. Hashtag the National Pulse, tag SFM Radio and myself. What do you make of 37% of these senior officials failing their lifestyle audit? And while you're at it, let me just say this much. I see a note from the DA, and this is what it says. The Democratic Alliance across South Africa mourns the loss of a political giant and party stalwart. The DA Chief Whip, Ambassador to Thailand, and thought leader. Our deepest sympathies are with the family now. You may pick it up. We're referring to Douglas Gibson, who I've just heard now has passed on. So condolences certainly to his family. In fact, I probably chatted to him not even 2 months ago, I think, on this show on the National Pulse. But there we are, Douglas Gibson, born 1942, passing away 2025.
It takes a while before these arch rivals meet in the final. But when they do, everything stops. Nabi is confident to delight the Amakotsi fans.
If the fans love Kaiser Chiefs, automatically is love Nabi.
While the back-to-back victor, Rivero, chases the third consecutive title.
Whenever it's time to go, we're going with the intention to be competitive, to try to be better than the opponent.
This is the Nedbank Cup final. Witness the Soweto Derby. Golden Black battles it out with Black and White on Saturday, 10 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
Catch SAFTA award-winning cooking reality show The Tastemaster SA from Tuesday the 13th of May at 7:30. Watch as 10 talented contestants take on delicious challenges to impress celebrity chef Zola Nene along with special guest judges. Don't miss the season premiere, a heartfelt tribute to the incredible
Right, so here's another news just in. Zandile, who's a 36-year-old woman, has added an unbelievable, and the key is unbelievable, 918 Rand a month more money to her budget. So she saved that. Why? She switched to Outsurance and now saves 918 a month on her 2024 Cherry Tiggo 1.5 litre. Nice one, Zandile. Outsurance client always gets something out. You could get two. What do you need to do? Get a quote today. See how much they could save you on your car insurance. Why pay more when you could pay less? Switch to Outsurance today. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. I'm just thinking I better check out my insurance and where I stand with it. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
You know, it's a Friday. On a Friday, we have this fireside chat. I have a guest for an hour. I can tell you he's a professor, but not in the academic space, in the medical space. Looking forward to a conversation with him. Absolutely. I'll give you a name just now. I wonder if you can work out who I'm referring to. Someone who's effectively a world record holder, if that makes it clear to you. Let's talk about somebody who's made his own records. We're talking about the Pope. Yesterday, we just left the show. I think within a minute or two of going off air, the news was that, hey, we have white smoke at the Vatican, and all that's unfolded, and now we know that the world has a new Pope, who's called Pope Leo the 14th. So question is, what does his election mean for the future of the Catholic Church. You know, who is he? What do we know about him and what he's expected to do and deliver as the leader of the Catholic Church, right? With me is Father Rodney Moss, retired Catholic priest at the Archdiocese of Durban and the former head of the theology at St. Augustine College. Father Moss, we chatted the other day. Appreciate your time and thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Good, thank you.
And first things first, I mean, how much do you personally know about the now Pope Leo XIV? Meaning, how much would you have known about him beforehand?
Not a great deal. I had heard of him, but I must say that I didn't know much. It's only I've tried to find out things since he's been elected. But I must say that I think the choice of the College of Cardinals was a very good one, because he seems a person, really fit for the job. He's one who will carry on the legacy of the former Pope, and yet he has a different personality, and I think he also has his own way of doing things. So it will be very interesting to see how his papacy will develop. I mean, I do know, for example, that he's very keen on social justice. The fact that as Pope he's taken the name of Leo XIV is significant, because Leo XIII, who was Pope at the end of the 19th century into the early 20th century, he was the one who issued the first Catholic papal encyclical on social justice called Rerum Novarum, and that was a very, very significant way forward for the Catholic Church. So we know now that he's going to be very, very keen on social justice.
Well, maybe you can help us with this then. That choice of choosing a name, is that the choice of the elected Pope, or is that done in consultation with others and say, well, we think this is a good name for you?
No, it is solely his choice, but it always gives a certain indication of where his papacy might go, where his priorities are. So that's what we can say about the name that he chooses, but he alone decides that.
So someone was saying, I mean, when it was announced that yes, this Pope was American, and then you find out more that yes, he's born in the USA, but a lot of his legacy is in Peru, right? That in many ways, and Donald Trump has tweeted about being the Pope the other day himself, so he does outrageous things anyway. but here's the thought that if Trump and America would be celebrating Pope Leo as the Pope, that in fact is the most un-American American Pope. Do you agree with that?
I agree. You see, first of all, it was very interesting. In his inaugural address, he said nothing about being an American, and he put all his emphasis upon his missionary work in Peru. So, therefore, I think that I would feel myself that he would certainly not be in accord with Donald Trump. That I'm certain of. So, yeah.
But
to answer your question,
it makes the point that that the Pope is not a political appointment, a geopolitical appointment, meaning that he's not expected. Of course, he may well meet Donald Trump, but he's not expected to be an ambassador for the country of his birth. Not at all, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. He's meant ideally to be a kind of universal man, and I think that this Pope will be exactly that. He's got many, many different talents, and I think one of the things that he's going to do is bring about a greater unity in the Catholic Church itself. The Church has been divided recently for various reasons, and I think he will work towards sort of reconciling the various groups and factions there are in the Church. There was a very significant thing to mention. It's symbolic more than anything else, but it does tell you something. When he appeared the balcony of St. Peter's, he was wearing a stole, a papal stole, which came from the reign of Benedict XVI. Now, was he trying to reassure conservatives? This has been proposed because the previous pope was not appreciated by a number of conservative Catholics. So I think there have been a number of signs that he's trying to reconcile. He's a bridge builder, and I think he's trying to do that in the church as well.
But you did say the church, and in this case the Catholic Church, has been divided on many issues. So what are the key issues that the church has been divided on? And do I take it when you say the church, is it literally the church as in the clergy, or is it the church, when you speak about the church, you're talking about the entire grouping of 1.4 billion people who belong to the Catholic faith?
Yes, I'm saying that there have been divisions between people who have a more conservative approach to their faith and those that would like something more progressive. That's been one of the divisions recently, and I think he's trying to reconcile those groups, I would think, because I think it's important. So church unity would be something that he would work towards. I mean, again, not at the expense of social justice. He's going to continue with that. And so I think too that but he's also very firm about certain things. He talks about not being happy about beliefs and practices that are not in accord with the gospel. So, in other words, he would go beyond purely secular values. He would stress very much Christian values. Yes, that's what I think he would do.
Let me end with this. What for you then is his, maybe the top 3 most important challenges that he has got to get right? And you got like 30 seconds to answer this.
Yes, well, I think I mentioned first of all the unity in the church, but I also mean the outreach of the church. Because the church is not a system in itself, it has to reach out to the world. And there's a lot of that, and he will continue to do that as well.
Okay.
So I think the first impressions of the present Pope are favourable. Okay. He'll be a universal man.
He'll be a universal man. Let's see how the world will judge him. Father Rodney Moss, appreciate your time. Retired Catholic priest at the Archdiocese of Durban and the former head of the theology at St. Augustine College. We're referring to now, we didn't know him before, but now he's very known, Pope Leo XIV. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Holofelo Tefu.
Thanks, Ashraf. Good afternoon. In the headlines this hour, the EFF in Parliament is calling for legal action to be taken against white people who are living in racial enclaves populations such as Orania in the Northern Cape and Kleinfontein near Pretoria in Gauteng. International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola says that it is important to highlight the issues that women are facing when addressing pertinent matters in the continent. And the authorities in India have suspended the Indian Premier League cricket tournament for a week due to growing military tension with Pakistan. Details at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good afternoon. Going to kick it off in Durban because the traffic that side is super heavy. We start with the closure of the N3 Durban bound from Richmond Road through towards the M7. So it's Durban bound closure in front of Pinetown. That's for truck crash recovery. That's a heavy queue from Marion Hill Plaza as you come up to the Mike 1 Richmond Road closure. And then a lot of traffic, most of it diverting up through Pinetown, causing absolute gridlock conditions through the central Pinetown area. So very heavy on your way into Durban as a result of that. If you're heading outbound, down. The rumble strips now near Pavilion on the outbound side as well. So from Sherwood, that's a heavy backlog. A lot of traffic avoiding that. So the M13 out over the N2 bridge to Westfield badly backed up. The N2 south from Inanda Road moving down to that congested N3 is really busy as well into Spaghetti Junction. So there's a lot of traffic around that central Durban area. Before you even get there, there's a stationary truck at Hammersdale, Key Ridge area. So coming down from Hammersdale on your way into Cliffdale, that's quite a heavy queue as well today. Crossing to Joburg, just update on the R21. If you're leaving the airport, the roadworks up by the Benoni exit, causing a delay from Atlas Road. If you are airport bound, there's roadworks in the same place by the Benoni off-ramp, and that's heavy coming through from the Bopsfontein exit. There's a bit of traffic on the M1 up through Midrand, not as bad as it could be, just queuing to New Road. And Cape Town today, on your way outbound, slow moving through Somerset West. That's just a volume of traffic on that N2 outbound, and a crash on the M5 South near Racecourse Road at Kenilworth. Heavy traffic all the way back into Coburg Interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
So the other day, Orlando Pirates were playing Kaizer Chiefs and the league game, and Tumi wore a certain top, and I didn't mention the name, and I said, if you really want to know, you better check us on live streaming, because you can get us YouTube or live streaming via the SAFM website, or you can actually find us on the Twitter feed. Now, today she's wearing another football top, but it's not of the same team of the other one. I don't know how to explain that, because I would never swing, but I mean, she has her own way of doing things.
Does it mean that I'm swinging?
I don't know. I can't imagine me supporting one team on a Monday and another team on a Tuesday, but I mean, she has her own way of doing things.
No, wait. I need to correct you. Me wearing this does not necessarily mean that I support it.
Oh, I see.
I just promised last week that, listen, because there's two derbies. Last week I was wearing an Orlando Pirates jersey. Today, I'm wearing a Kaizer Chiefs jersey. I keep my word. I'll take a picture and I'll post it on social
And they all
media.
want to see it, yes.
They all want to see it.
And this one looks smarter.
Really?
The Pirates supporters are going to be furious. This one looks brighter, that typical orangey yellow of Kaizer Chiefs. Anyway, okay, so for the record, this is just you being diplomatic, and you are covering your bets in this case here. You would certainly wear both. It doesn't mean you support either of the team. You're not saying a word, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm literally there in the middle of the fence. But a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Let's start things off with cricket. Well, Cricket South Africa have confirmed that Shukri Conrad as the Proteas men's all-format head coach, extending his role to include both Test and white ball cricket. Conrad, who has been in charge of the Test side since January 2023, will begin his expanded duties with the T20 International Tri-Series against Zimbabwe and New Zealand in July. Now, the 58-year-old will lead the team through the 2027 ICC Men's Cricket World Cup on home soil as part of Cricket South Africa's broader restructuring strategy, which also sees the return of a national convener of selectors. In football, Orlando Pirates coach Jose Rivero says that their game plan is to make things hard for Kaizer Chiefs in the Nedbank Cup final tomorrow at the Moses Mabhida Stadium, as they have done in several times. The Spanish tactician enjoys a good record against Amakosi and aims to leave the country without a defeat against them.
Like every other one, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to be one more time in a final representing Orlando Pirates. Is what we were looking for since day one, since we started here together. We were lucky enough and we worked hard enough to find ourselves regularly in almost in each and every final since we started. It's something to celebrate one more time. And once you are there, it's about all the topics in the world which are true. Don't play the occasion, focus in the game plan, focus in the way that we feel that we can beat Chiefs, focus in the game that we feel that they can beat us. In order to avoid it, we're going to try to make Chiefs play bad, and we're going to try to play well. That's the intention on the day, and we did it already several times together, and we want to make sure that we are there again.
Meanwhile, Kaizer Chiefs former goalkeeper Itumeleng Khune has urged the players to win the Nedbank Cup for Club Supremo Kaizer Motaung. Now, Khune says that the Soweto Giants must end the unwanted record of not having won any major silverware since 2015, when he was still part of the team under then coach Stuart Baxter.
Let's hope they will bring their A-plus game come weekend so that they can win it for the old man. Man, Dr. Motaung deserves something. Like having to witness your team not lifting a trophy in 9.5 years, it's not nice. And you've invested so much in the players, in the infrastructure. I think Dr. Motaung deserves to be given the trophy, because he's aging and he has invested so much in the team. So I think the players who are there now, they must think of writing their names in the history books.
So much for motivation.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
I have to choose my words carefully. Of all the reasons that people say we want to win a cup, and whether it's for Kaizer Motaung or like Alex Ferguson because it's his last game, that's just nonsense.
How?
It's got nothing to do with the administrator. Ultimately, you're a team of 11 players. What motivation do you need to win? But that's what you're actually there for every single day. You can't say, because it's my last game, I'll do even better. Because something happened, we'll give off more. What does that mean?
I think he's just trying to give them some sort of motivation because basically this is the last step.
They don't need the motivation. They shouldn't need the motivation to win a cup.
Yeah.
What motivation would they need? Like you and I,
yeah.
We're on air. What a privilege to be on the air.
It is.
What motivation do we need to be on the air? That somebody will like us? No. What a privilege. So what do they need motivation to win?
Of course, they do have that motivation, but just hearing, that extra thing, win it for Kaizer Motaung, they just feel like, yes.
everything we had to win for Madiba.
Well, elsewhere, Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca says that he's excited to face his professional dad after Emmanuel Pellegrini managed Real Betis qualified for the Conference League final. Chelsea won 1-0 on the night against Djurgården and 5-1 on aggregate, and the results have led to Maresca facing a manager that he has both played under and worked alongside, having been a member of Pellegrini's squad at Malaga before later becoming his assistant at West Ham. In rugby, 3 Springboks returned to the Vodacom Bulls starting lineup for tomorrow's match against Cardiff at Loftus Versfeld. Willie Leroux, who came off the bench in the Bulls' 26-19 win against Glasgow 2 weeks ago, starts at fullback in place of Devon Williams, who drops to the bench. Marcel Coetzee has recovered from a knee injury that he sustained in the Glasgow warm-up to reclaim the number 6 jersey from Janus Kirsten, while Cameron Hanekom is back at number 8 after sitting in the stands at the Scotstoun Stadium because of a stiff groin. In other changes, Zach Berger gets a start at 9 with Ambrose Papier having a knee injury being rested as a precaution. The Bulls are 3rd in the Vodacom URC log and they're chasing a top 2 finish, while Cardiff are 5th. Before I go, I find it interesting. I think when I was still doing Top Sport, the big question was, should Conrad do or be in charge of all the formats? And now it's been confirmed he's in charge of all the formats. And the big question is it good or not? But I guess every single thing has its pros and cons. Pros, there's consistency. He's able to implement whatever strategies that he wants to implement. But in terms of cons, the workload is going to be
let's see how he manages, because normally you'd say, if you do something, you'll say Siyabonga, thank you, right? Shukri means, Shukri comes from the Arabic word shukran, which means thank you. So we're either going to thank him or he's going to thank us for getting the job, or we're going to thank him for doing brilliantly, or it's you can't cope, man. 4 formats, wow.
We'll have to wait and see. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
CFI, a global leader in online trading, is now in South Africa. Access 15,000 plus instruments, currencies, stocks, metals, crypto CFDs, indices, futures, and more on world-class platforms. Enjoy 0 pip spreads, no commission fees, and 24/7 support for confident trading. Visit CFI.trade for a secure, transparent trading experience. Don't miss the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, Tuesdays at 16:45. Proudly sponsored by CFI. CFI Financial, an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
The Saints understand it's too late to change things around, but it's never too late to beat defending champions and bow with pride.
He chips the goalkeeper! It's an absolute beauty! It's an absolute beauty from Musa.
However, the citizens are forced to settle for a top 3 finish. They want nothing but 3 vital points.
Absolutely magnificent goal. Well, Phil Foden is still in a heap near the halfway line, but credit Andy Madley, he allowed City to continue.
This is the Premier League. Experience the superb battle between Southampton FC and Manchester City FC on Saturday 10 May at 3:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and S3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM music, crafted to make you feel real good.
As the night moves in,
Handpicked just for your pleasure. Classics sounding so good, only on SAFM.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
So we'll take your call shortly. Any comments about Douglas Gibson? We've heard that he has passed on, sadly. You may want to comment about that. Also, the Soweto derby, absolutely. And my point, as I've said, how is it that you can attribute your extra motivation to the founder to say because of that we'll play? I mean, do you agree with me? Or is it simply your motivation should be that we players and we're out to win a cup, because that's really our end goal anyway, right? Now, we'll chat later on with Sherwin Bryce piece about news that the first group of white Afrikaner refugees will be landing in South Africa, in the USA next week. Refugee status, right? That comes up pretty shortly. But let's talk about this, which is really important. The issue of what is called the Power to the People Constitutional Amendment Bill. What does that really mean? And who's pushing for that? And what are the implications? So with me is Ruben Kotze, who's the spokesperson for the Foundation for Rights of Expression and Equality, in essence, Free SA. Ruben, appreciate your time. And thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
Thank you so much, Ashraf. Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here with you this afternoon.
Thank you. So tell me what's been tabled and why is it so fundamentally important?
So what Parliament usually does is Parliament on an annual basis, they call for suggestions and for public responses to constitutional amendments, proposed constitutional amendments that the public would make. And we as Free SA are calling on all South Africans to support this bold and practical proposal that we have put together that will fix our broken system of government. So after this call from Parliament to submit suggestions to constitutional amendments, we have tabled an approach with three really simple points that we believe will address a lot of the problems that we as South Africans are facing, and that can be fundamental in truly giving back the power to the South African citizens and not centralizing it on a government level. And these 3 points, which I'll outline in detail a bit later, is first and foremost, a call for a smaller cabinet and a more leaner state. And secondly, police services that will answer directly to South African communities that will be based on a provincial police service level. And then finally, banning state monopolies and opening up the economy for South African businesses and the private sector to really compete. And we believe that these three proposals as a start will be fundamental in addressing a lot of the problems regarding safety and security in our communities, and also to address our economic woes of the past couple of decades.
Okay, so where do you fit in? I mean, who is Free SA?
So Free SA, as you mentioned, is an organization that is really focused on giving a voice back to the South African people and to the citizens of South Africa. We are an organization that really focuses on public policy and public participation and advocating for the issues that matter most to South Africans. We see often that the government makes decisions really in small backroom doors, where citizens of South Africa are not always aware of the decisions that's being taken, and they're not always able to give their voice. And we see ourselves really as the platform to allow South Africans from all diverse backgrounds to make their voices heard and their voices known. And we believe, especially like I mentioned, the government has opened up this public participation process, calling for ordinary South African citizens to submit their proposed amendments with regards to constitutional amendments for the government, for Parliament to then take a look at and then to make submissions to the executive branch as well. And we really see ourselves as a facilitative body for ordinary South Africans to use our website, freesa.org.za, as a platform to make their voices heard. And really, like you mentioned, we are the foundation for rights of equality and expression, and we're really advocating for equal rights, equality, free market-based economies, and really allowing the South African citizens to be at the center of the decision-making and not government. I believe that's really how we see our role in this fashion.
But practically, if the people are at the center of decision-making, I said so yesterday, I think on air, that, and not government. I mean, can you imagine, using an example of the Joburg City Council, can you imagine, 2 million people effectively making a decision for every single decision that needs to be made? I mean, it's not practical. That's why, is it not accurate to say that government is the proxy of the people? They represent us, so we empower them to make decisions on our behalf.
We do, but then the decisions from government should be informed by the comments, the dialogues, and the discussions had with the South African people. That's why public participation processes like this is so vitally important, because we see that we have a government at this point who is not really serving the interest of South African people. Like I touched on these policies that we've mentioned, specifically looking at economic growth, we've only had 0.6% of economic growth in the last 2 years. We are sitting with an expanded unemployment rate of 42%, which affect mostly the young people of South Africa, while we have a government that's spending over R1 billion annually on salaries, security perks, VIP protection for the executive branch. And that's why the first proposal that we've put forward is a smaller cabinet. We have submitted a proposal to the president as well, where we can have an executive branch with 15 ministers, 15 deputy ministers, instead of the 74 member executive that the president has at the moment. And you can save approximately 130 billion rand that can be reinvested in South African infrastructure, in creating jobs. Because, like I mentioned, at the moment we have a government who's not really, the decisions is not being informed by the voice of the South African people, and that's why we need to raise our voices in opportunities like this, so that the pressure can be put on the government to facilitate policies that really benefit ordinary South African people. Like I touched on the police services as well, we have a national police service that is really not on a ground level and dealing with issues in local communities, and that's why we're advocating for the establishment of provincial police services who can be more responsive, who can be locally accountable, and who can also be more in touch with the issues that's happening in specific communities. I mean, if you look at the issues that's happening in the metros like Joburg and Tshwane and Ekurhuleni, in Gauteng specifically, the issues that's happening there is not the same issues that's happening in Cape Town, in Mitchells Plain, in Khayelitsha, and that's why by empowering a provincial police service, you'll be able to address these issues. And then the final point is banning state monopolies and opening up the economy through public-private partnerships to allow these enterprises to really flourish. We see that in the past 10 years, South African taxpayers have had to cough up 520 billion rand in state-owned enterprises bailouts with no real improved outcomes or improved policies. And if that is the arm of the people, it's not really serving the people at the end of the day. And that's why we need processes like this, and we need to allow South Africans to have the platform so that the government's decisions can be informed by what South Africans say, because that's not what's happening at the moment. And that's why we're really advocating for these issues and putting it forth so that South Africans can make their voices heard, and the state can be kept accountable to serve the interests of the South African people.
Okay, and lastly, how do you know that your position on this issue effectively reflects the will of the people?
Well, what we do at Free SA is we have polls that we do on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis rather, and people can just visit our websites with the submission on banning state monopolies. We see that we've had over 20,000 submissions from ordinary South Africans supporting the ban on state monopolies, saying that the 520 billion rand that we've spent on bailouts have been too much, and that it should be reduced, that we should allow private investment, competition, ensuring greater efficiency of this, and the same is for the smaller cabinet as well. Okay. So, like I said, we are just a facilitative process, and we use the voices and the responses and submissions from South Africans to
let's see what happens next. I think that smaller cabinet, which was supposed to be the plan, became larger because of the GNU. So, which political party would be supportive of a reduction in the cabinet when they could get the chop? I'll be very surprised. Ruben Kotze, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
The wait is over. I've been hustling, grinding, And now it's time for the glow up you've been waiting for. Unapologetically, made the Bay. From the grind to the glam. Anele Zondo The Glow Up on Saturdays at 8 p.m. only on SABC 1, Mzansi, for sure.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Okay, I so want to get connected to you as you are connected to the National Pulse. So let's get to talk about your thoughts, firstly on the refugees in America position.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I mean, if those refugee status of African were given to all South Africans, black and white, Indian, whatever race it is, I'm telling you, Ashraf, all of us will be heading to America because of the nature of our politics and their difference. I'm telling you, South Africa could have been empty because we all want that American dream. Prima by Project, and thanks for the question.
Oh, you want that American dream? I don't want it. I don't even want the South African dream. I just want us to live in a champion nation in my country. Why would I want to go away? Really? But you really think the majority will all pack up and go? Maybe you should ask the question, why is that offer not made to all of us? I mean, therein lies the issue, isn't it? That issue of the lifestyle audits, big deal, isn't it?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It is very encouraging to hear that the Gauteng province has started with a lifestyle audit. I just wish that this exercise can spread to all other departments and to all other provinces throughout the country, and there must be consequences for all those who fail the lifestyle audit. We don't want to see another Raymond Zondo recommendations, not anything being done about. So there must be consequences. What we see is the consequences, what happens to those officials who fail the lifestyle audit. But it is really encouraging, and we hope that it spreads to all other provinces. This is Ntora in Cape Town. Thank you.
Well, point. That's it. So there you are. The Premier will have a chat with them to explain themselves next week. So they're going to be very busy this weekend, I would think, isn't it?
Good afternoon, Dr. Ashraf. You know, Dr. Ashraf, it is so heartwarming when you see criminals being intercepted by a man in pajamas, Dr. Ashraf. And they recovered 3 cars that were about to be stolen. This criminal, how can a criminal be so dumb and go to an SNDF yard and try to steal from them? Dr. Ashraf, you know, as a country, everybody's happy about that situation.
Okay, there we are. Everybody's happy. Let's see how that one plays out. Here's another. Let me get that. Here we are.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Mtsete here, Ashraf. Ashraf, the approach of the internal investigation and the judgment to the case of civilians and bodyguards of deputy presidents seem to be biased. We haven't heard that those civilian guys have attacked the TP and his physically fit mercenaries. Yet they were crushed and beaten into pulp, and the police internal verdict defied no case on those militant guards. Though worse, there was even pointing of firearms there. Didn't they know the military law or the do's and don'ts when dealing with a civilian person? Our last hope is the magistrate court of justice.
Well, that's why so many people are so surprised about the outcome. Let's see what happens next.
Look, man, Cape Town. Ashraf, the Vuyo, the spokesperson, and you know, I'm just disappointed in the line of questioning which you asked this guy. You know, that is so serious. 4 out of 10 failed lifestyle audits. For how long? That one of the questions. For how long was this going on? Since when is this audit being done? You know, looking at the state of Gauteng, it's a mess. And this guy Vuyo, I think now we must clap hands for this. They're not the only province that is doing this. Others as well. But he wants us not to clap hands for what? For what? For how Gauteng is looking. Now you should have drilled him. You should have drilled him, Ashraf.
No, my friend, their processes. I think they've come up, they've been proactive. Now, the big question is, we know it's 4 out of 10. Let's see what happens next. I think a lot depends after that conversation with the Premier of Gauteng. If he decides to give them scot-free and amnesty, then we can, as you say, dole them. In all these cases, there are processes to follow. So I certainly told him there's nothing to celebrate. I certainly made that point already. But more than that, you don't convict people. You need to hear what happens. But thanks for your call.
Evening, Ashraf, SA listeners. This audit from the city of Johannesburg concerning all the officials, I'm not sure it will go that far, Ashraf. After all the findings, nothing will happen. I'm telling you, nothing will happen.
So you are very confident that nothing will happen.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners. Ashraf, nothing less than 40% of senior management being fired will satisfy me. You mustn't come and talk nice things here and tell us, oh, we was the first province to do this. I'm saying you don't have to do any more investigations. The audits were done. You don't need government to go and call on law enforcement agencies that's going to take another 5 years. Get rid of them. I'm expecting 60% of the ANC or the Gauteng government back in office after 14 days. Thank you very much for a great show. Saki and Kraaifontein.
Thanks for that, Saki. Oh my goodness. I tell you what, when we talk about what reflects the national pulse, I think your call and the previous caller we had as well on that issue, effectively saying same things in different ways. You can see people are furious, and I think it's understandable. So, okay, I hear you. Let's see what plays out. But yes, if nothing happens and it's all just smiles and they have a nice photo shoot, then clearly people are going to be furious, as they already are.
I have no trust or confidence in that number, 37%. It sounds to me very, very low. Number two, even the 37%, I can assure you nothing's going to be done by the Premier. Absolutely zero. There have been revelations in the past about corruption in Gauteng and reports that have been buried by the same Premier. Ask Solim Simang of the DA in Gauteng, he will tell you. I have no faith in that process. Thanks, Ashraf.
Sure. I tell you what, thanks for that, Tabo. When people have no faith in institutions, that's a big deal. Now, what about the Soweto Derby? But here's a question that's important.
Ashraf, please. I don't even call into radio stations often. Anonymous from Durban. I tried yesterday. I try every other day, though. Nothing of mine gets played. My concern remains around the fact that I took pictures while I was driving past the Moses Mabhida Stadium. The whole stadium is surrounded by scaffolding. You know, whether it's repairs, maintenance, and I just want to know, I mean, besides the ticket debacle and all of that, having all these people there and the scaffolding there, is this the safest stadium that the PSL and the sponsor could find to host this final?
Okay, your voice note was played on air today. We'll chat to a representative from KZN province at about 4:20 about, and I'll raise that issue and a whole lot more about ticketing and general safety, all that in relation to the Soweto Derby, Orlando Pirates versus Kaizer Chiefs in the Nedbank Cup final. First things first, let's get the news. It's 4 o'clock.
Thanks, Ashraf. Top stories. The SAWA EFF calls for legal action against enclaves populations, and IPL suspended as tensions between India and Pakistan rise. Good afternoon. I'm Kolofelo Defo. The EFF in Parliament is calling for legal action to be taken against white people who are living in racial enclaves populations such as Orania in the Northern Cape and Kleinfontein near Pretoria in Gauteng. This emerged during the debate on this enclaves in post-apartheid South Africa. EFF leader Julius Malema, who called for the debate, says the establishment of these communities is a threat to nation building and social cohesion at large. Party Member of Parliament Carl Neers spoke on behalf of Malema by representing the party.
The EFF demands immediate action
Those who establish, sustain, or defend these enclaves must face the full force of the law. The Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act must be enforced, and those guilty of perpetuating these racist policies must face imprisonment. Racism is not a trivial offense. It is a crime that jeopardizes the nation building and social cohesion we hold dear. The government must outlaw these enclaves and compel their integration into a non-racial South Africa.
DA leader John Steenhuisen has extended their party's condolences to the friends and family of a long-time party member and ambassador to Thailand, Douglas Gibson. Among others, Gibson served as a chief whip of the Democratic Party and continued to be member of the Democratic Alliance. He went on to serve the country as an ambassador to Thailand from 2008. Steenhuisen says the party will miss Gibson, a man who tirelessly fought for a better South Africa for all.
Douglas was a fierce fighter for freedom in South Africa. Even to the last days of his life, took no prisoners in advocating for what he and our party believed. And yet he brought to all he did an immense capacity for compassion, retaining throughout his career an accessibility and clear humanity in all engagements. At the same time, he was a great ambassador for our country, our party, and the values of non-racialism and freedom.
International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola says that it is important to highlight the issues that women are facing when addressing pertinent matters in Africa. He says that women and children bear the brunt of conflicts as most of them get displaced. Lamola was the keynote speaker in Pretoria at a conference on women, peace and security on the continent.
As we mark Africa Month, we must also reaffirm a vision of Pan-Africanism that is feminist at its core, and one that places women's lived experiences, wisdom and leadership at the center of continental peace and development. According to a study by the Africa Center for Strategic Studies, as of September 2024, 40 million Africans were forcibly displaced. Although these stats do not provide a gender breakdown, we have seen that the significant majority of displaced people are women and children.
The police have beefed up their security plans for tomorrow's Nedbank Cup final soccer match in Durban's Moses Mabhida Stadium. Chaos with the sales of tickets have brought about a situation where people who have booked online have been notified that too many tickets have been sold and that certain people will be refunded. Briefing the media ahead of the match, KwaZulu-Natal Deputy Police Commissioner Phumelelo Makoba has warned people not to come to the stadium if they do not have a valid ticket. She says roads leading to the stadium will be blocked off and people who are found selling tickets will be arrested.
We have noted a number of misinformation and inflammatory messages going around various social media platforms, with some people recruiting others to stage protests on our routes and around the stadium, with others vowing to force their way into the stadium without tickets.
And finally, the authorities in India have suspended the Indian Premier League cricket tournament for a week because of growing military tension with Pakistan. It's one of the world's richest sports championships. The BBC's Arunadai Mukherjee has the details.
Indian cricket officials said the decision to suspend the tournament was taken after consultation with all key stakeholders. The series attracts several international players and has millions of viewers around the world. On Thursday night, one of the matches in the northern Indian state of Himachal Pradesh was abandoned after reports of drone and missile attacks in cities less than 200 kilometers away. The last time the IPL was suspended was during the COVID pandemic in 2021. Tensions have escalated between India and Pakistan after a deadly attack on tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir last month.
The top story this hour, the EFF in Parliament is calling for legal action to be taken against white people who are living in racial enclaves populations such as Orania in the Northern Cape and Clairefontaine near Pretoria in Gauteng. Headlines at 4:30 for SFM News. I'm Kolofelo Tefo.
And coming up in your sports this hour, Jake fumes over Kurt Lee's absence. Mdaka sets sides on AFCON quarterfinals in Zambia clash, and IPL suspended for 1 week over safety concerns. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Extremely busy Durban bound today along the N3 corridor. Once you get past Marion Hill Plaza, you're in big trouble. There's truck crash recovery happening between the Richmond Road and the M7. There's a really big queue from the plaza into that road restricted area, and there's a lot of traffic diverting up the Richmond Road into a gridlocked Pinetown. The central Pinetown area is absolutely gridlocked, so if you're trying to get straight through on the N3, that's going to take forever, and if you are taken off and routed through Pinetown, well, that's just a real mission to get through as well. Rumble strips on the outbound N3 today at Pavilion. Delays from Sherwood coming into that. The N2 from In Under Road heading very slowly down towards the Spaghetti Junction side. And the M19 worth a mention as well. Reservoir Hills out to Dunkeld Road. If you're on your way out towards New Germany and Pinetown, that's pretty heavy also. Stationary truck at Cliffdale on your way into Durban, so some additional delays there as well. And there's a crash near Market Road. So just coming out of Pietermaritzburg down through Market Road towards Ashburton. Very busy also. Now, Joburg, the R21 roadworks north and southbound around the Benoni exit. If you're going to or from the airport, the traffic is quite heavily backed up. N1 up to New Road through Midrand is about the worst of it today. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. And Cape Town, a crash on the M5 south at Kenilworth. That's causing a delay from Maitland. At the same time, a crash going north on the M5 at the N2, and that's backing traffic from Klipfontein Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
CFI, a global leader in online trading, is now in South Africa. Access 15,000 plus instruments, currencies, stocks, metals, crypto CFDs, indices, futures, and more on world-class platforms. Enjoy zero pip spreads, no commission fees, and 24/7 support for confident trading. Visit CFI.trade for a secure, transparent trading experience. Don't miss the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, Tuesdays at 16:45. Proudly sponsored by CFI. CFI Financial, an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
Amatats ladies and Twishi Twatla ladies are meeting for a tense battle. They are both in search of 3 crucial points. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the spectacular action of Mzansi Women's Football, University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Royal AM Ladies FC, the Sunday 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends. You need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAFM.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So, did you know this year marks, it's already 6 years since Professor Mashudu Chifularo performed the world's first middle ear transplant. And he did that using 3D printed bones made in South Africa and impacting the world. I mean, that's the type of champions we talk about so often. Why I say that is he's going to be my guest after 5 o'clock today in the Fireside Chat. You don't want to miss that. You absolutely do not want to miss it. Let's talk about another big issue in the meantime. And we have with us Sherwin Bryce-Pease, who's the South African correspondent, well, for the SABC based in the USA. Sherwin, good to connect with you live on the National Pulse.
Always good to be with you.
Thank you. And I'll take advantage of wishing you happy birthday for yesterday.
You're very kind. You're very kind. Thank you so much.
Okay, now, you know, on a birthday you get the freedom of the city. Maybe you hope so. But some people from South Africa, effectively we hear, have now been given the freedom of a country, the USA. Give us the story of what has been going on for a few months now regarding people, Afrikaners, taking refugee status to the USA. It's happening, right?
It's happening, and when you talk about, being given the freedom of a city, you normally get a key to that city, and it's essentially what some 54 Afrikaners that we understand have now been approved by this expedited U.S. resettlement program. That is happening, and they could be arriving after Ashraf in the United States as early as Monday, but we're told the situation is fluid. Let me read you what we have received from the State Department. Quote, the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria has been conducting interviews and processing pursuant to President Trump's executive order on addressing, quote, egregious actions of the Republic of South Africa. We continue to review inquiries from individuals who have expressed interest to the embassy in resettling to the United States. While we are unable to comment on individual cases, the Department of State is prioritizing consideration for U.S. refugee resettlement of Afrikaners in South Africa who are, quote, victims of unjust racial discrimination, essentially speaking to that executive order, Ashraf, which the U.S. president signed in February. The report, this reporting coming from the New York Times and NPR, they say that the Trump administration is planning to welcome this first tranche of Afrikaner refugees at Washington's Dulles International Airport. The exact day remains unclear because the situation is quite fluid, but we understand, Ashraf, that there will be a press conference. There's an event planned to welcome these refugees, and we are told that high-level State Department and Homeland Security officials will speak at that event.
Okay, so we know the figures like 50 plus. I understand the State Department won't give the numbers. I get that. But what's very clear then is this is going to be a show. I mean, it's not just going to be a quiet arrival as would happen with most other people. There's a clear plan around this, isn't it?
Which in and of itself is quite surprising. I mean, what is the show about essentially? Is it to castigate South Africa further? Is it to, because if it's a press conference, these refugees are paraded in front of the cameras, right? They're going to have to answer questions from the U.S. press based here that have some pointed questions as to whether, as to the veracity of the entire executive order that has cast aspersions on South Africa in so many ways as it relates to South Africa's land expropriation bill, but also, expressing concerns about South Africa's human rights record among other issues that include South Africa's foreign policy positions. But this is what we get from the New York Times, Ashraf. Quote, the Department of Health and Human Services will help the South Africans with housing, basic home furnishings, essential household items, groceries, weather-appropriate clothing, diapers, formula, hygiene products, and prepaid phones. And we understand from the reportage that we're seeing is that this group will then be dispersed into different states around the United States. This is a very vast country, 50 states. We understand that a number of states have put their hands up: Colorado, Massachusetts, West Virginia, the list goes on. So this group won't be moving in unison as to where they will be resettled. They'll be broken up once they all gather at the airport next weekend.
Our experience often when we hear about refugees, and it doesn't apply in South Africa, but people refugees go to refugee camps, so they would be consolidated in one grouping. Clearly, is this normal in the USA when you have refugees that they aren't dispersed around the country?
They are dispersed around the country, and so the refugee program, often supported by international organizations like the International Organization for Migration, which I will tell you a few weeks ago, Reuters had a story quoting a source within IOM saying that they had declined a U.S. request to facilitate the resettlement of white Afrikaners. I then followed up with them, and they said they didn't have any comment. So there's clearly a reluctance from these international organizations to acquiesce to the U.S. Because the basis for this thing is entirely questionable, Ashraf. So yeah, the broader context here is that the entire U.S. refugee admissions program has been suspended by executive order. An executive order signed on January 20th, essentially shutting down all admissions into the United States. That refugee suspension is still in place, and the courts are now weighing in about people from different parts of the world that have been pre-approved. So there has been an exceptional circumstance in terms of getting these Afrikaners processed to the United States within 3 months, essentially. I mean, it never happens at that rapid rate. These processes can last for months, if not years. And a source of mine in the USA said the following. I can't give you his name, but this is what he says. Quote, there has been no criteria or procedure for adjudication of refugee applications. I have no idea how they did this.
Interesting indeed, because that's what I was going to ask you that next. I mean, we don't have names. I would assume that in the next 2 days, being the weekend and the Sunday papers, the names are going to come up. We're going to find people who will volunteer to say, I'm actually one of them, right? What else do we know? I know it's early morning in the USA, so you've probably just woken up a couple of hours into your working day. From a DIRCO International Relations, we've been unsuccessful getting their thoughts as well. Have you been able to get any comment from the South African side?
Not specifically as to this development overnight, but what do we know, right? We know that there have been there's been an appointment of a new U.S. envoy in the vein of Mcebisi Jonas. We also heard from President Ramaphosa alongside Volodymyr Zelensky when he visited the country. We talked about having talked to President Trump. Quote, this was from the president's tweet on April 24th. President Trump and I agreed to meet soon to address the war in Ukraine and various matters regarding the relations between South Africa and the United States. We both spoke about the need to foster good relations between our two countries. So one then wonders, right, based on that narrative from the president of South Africa, how this process is going, given the fact that the refugee resettlement program seems to be continuing at a rapid pace, and that doesn't speak to any of the South African concerns being understood and accepted by the Trump administration. That executive order is still being implemented, and that raises some questions about the bilateral discussions happening between Pretoria and Washington at this time.
Absolutely. What's the value of those bilaterals? Is there any final comment that you wish to add? Maybe things that we don't quite know you'd like to share?
I mean, this is a program that has happened very, very quickly. So this is very much a priority for the Trump administration. And one wonders, given the broad, the anti-immigration stature and posture of this administration, why are white Afrikaners, South Africans, such a priority for this administration? We sort of speculate here. Could it be Elon Musk being in the ear of the president? Various other high-profile South Africans that have been close to his campaign. Why is this such a priority for this president, given his broader posture against the immigration of people from around the world?
That's a good question. Well, I'll tell you what, as we end up, thanks for your time, Sherwin Bryce, please. I would think that when President Trump, the American President Trump, addresses the nation via that media briefing, I would expect South Africa, in this case here, not to be silent and to be ready and willing to respond wherever they are in the world, in South Africa perhaps, at the same time, so that the narrative is not done one-sided. I think it's that important. Sherwin Bryce, please, thanks for your time. Much appreciated. And enjoy the rest of, I think, what could be a groundbreaking next few days in the USA and in South Africa too.
As a medical doctor, I've dedicated my life to helping others. Being a regular blood donor, I was shocked to learn of my low hemoglobin levels, which prompted further investigations. My diagnosis of myelodysplastic syndrome meant that my only chance of survival would be through a stem cell transplant. Finding a match was easier for me than for most patients. However, not everyone is so lucky. If you are between the ages of 17 and 55 years, register with dkmsafrica.org to become a stem cell donor and give someone out there a lifeline. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Catch SAFTA award-winning cooking reality show The Tastemaster SA from Tuesday the 13th of May at 7:30. Watch as 10 talented contestants take on delicious challenges to impress celebrity chef Zola Nene, along with special guest judges. Don't miss the season premiere, a heartfelt tribute to the incredible moms who inspire us all. That's Tuesday the 13th at 7:30 p.m. The Tastemaster SA, only on SABC2.
Bafana want to seal their envelope to East Africa with a paramount victory in front of their home fans. But the Flames plan to double the heat. This is the second leg of the final round of the Total Energies CAF Chan 2025 qualifiers. South Africa tackles Malawi on Sunday, 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
X at SAFM Radio. And
about that conversation with Sherwin Bryce, piece about news now coming from the New York Times and the State Department that the numbers are not clear, but at least 50 odd South African Afrikaners effectively will not be South Africans any longer. They've taken out refugee status in the USA, which my understanding would be in this case here, they would have to forfeit their right to come to South Africa because it's certainly not a normal visit to that country. There are political reasons why they've been granted that status. So that is imminent, we understand. Your thoughts on that? What about the conversation we had earlier on about the proposed Power to the People Constitutional Amendment Bill? Maybe you have an opinion on that too. I certainly want to know about it. And then later on, don't forget, we'll be chatting to Professor Mashudu Chifularo as part of my fireside chat on a Friday, which is really important. But that point from Vuyo Maga, certainly lots of people commenting about it. The spokesperson for the Gauteng provincial government saying 37% of senior officials in the Gauteng government have failed their lifestyle audit. So no, we know that as a fact, okay? But it did say that the Premier will have to have an explain yourself down the line in the next few days. In fact, something has to give. And I know many people calling in are furious. They want answers. Well, let's see what the answers and responses would that be, right? Okay, let's get into another big issue, which has got to be the Soweto Derby. There's no question about that. It's Orlando Pirates, it's Kaizer Chiefs. They played last week in the league game. It's the Nedbank Cup final now. We're not going to talk about the football. Let's talk about the preparations around it. And there are safety issues and many other things, questions that need answers for. Colonel Robert Nechuanda, who's the KZN police spokesperson on the line. Appreciate your time, Colonel. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much for having us, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you. So let me ask you, let me say this much, right? I had a caller just now, about half an hour ago, saying he drove past the stadium yesterday and he found there was so much scaffolding that he can't see the stadium being ready for the game tomorrow. Now, okay, that's his opinion. Tell us about that firstly. What's the state of readiness of the actual stadium?
We can say that when the announcement was made that the stadium will host the Nedbank Cup final, the PSL communicated to us as the police, as the protocol, and we immediately raised our concern that we are in KwaZulu-Natal and we see that the stadium is under construction. And from that time, we're still monitoring what was going on. But we are confident and we are pleased that the certificate which proves that the stadium is ready and safe to host 51,000 spectators, then we were comfortable that the match will take place in a safe environment.
So the construction you refer to, right, so you can't confirm that it's actually stopped, that it's done. What type of construction has been taking place?
It is not a major construction, it's a refurbishment where there was wear and tear. So because it is high up there, it means that there should be a lot of scaffolding from contractors to be able to get there to the roof. So they are not preparing anything major. It's refurbishment. The pillars are strong, so they are not concerned as far as what we received from the stadium management and the engineers.
Okay, let's then talk about the general safety of the stadium. Now, there's been issues of overcrowding at other stadiums. Even last week, people came very late to the stadium. The game had to start a half an hour late for the league game. This is a cup final. You know, it doesn't happen every day, right? What's the security and access to the stadium plan?
Access to the stadium is very strict because we are going to have at least 3 checkpoints before somebody can access the stadium. There's somewhere where we are going to do a visual check of the ticket. That will be followed by a first scanner and then a second scanner. So we are not anticipating any overcrowding at those points. Our plea is that football lovers, those who have valid match tickets, should make their way to the stadium early. Unfortunately, as the police, ours is to control safety in and around the stadium, and the traffic will ensure that there is flow of traffic only when people are coming earlier. Because if they come at the same time, our roads might struggle with the huge volumes of traffic. But we have plans in place to ensure that traffic moves without compromising safety of visitors.
Okay, so if they do come late, never mind the best advice that they receive, what then is the plan? I mean, if I hear what you're saying, then you can't do much about it.
When they come late, we are ready for the late stage of spectators. Problem is when they are struggling to find parking. It's when they are trying to park on the road. That's where we are going to have a clash, because we must enforce the law and nobody is going to leave their vehicles on the road. We are ready to tow them away to ensure that traffic flows.
Okay. I understand that you said there'll be like 3 checkpoints before you actually have access into the stadium, which I think is fabulous. But I also heard the downside of that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that if, for example, you have a ticket, if I have a ticket and for some reason I'm not attending and I want to then get rid of my ticket at the stadium on the day, sell it to somebody else, that's not going to be allowed. In fact, the person will be arrested. Can you clear that up for us?
There was only one authorized ticketing outlet, which is the one that was given the right to sell the ticket, and nobody else. And doing that will be an criminal offense, because we will take that as fraud. You are selling fraudulent ticket. Doesn't matter whether that ticket is authentic or fake, as long as it is sold by somebody who was not authorized to do so, it constitutes crime, and we shall act accordingly.
But does it really do that? I'm just puzzled at that, because what I'm saying to you, it happens everywhere, at every event, not just a stadium event, even a crowd of 500 people. There's bound to be 30, 40 people who don't pitch up. For some reason or the other, they can't make it. If it's my ticket and I own the rights to the ticket because I paid for that right, why can't I legally dispose of it to somebody else?
They still have got today and tonight and tomorrow morning to sell their tickets anywhere else at the stadium.
So how do they sell it? I mean, do they phone a friend and sell it to their friend, because you're saying they're not authorized to sell it anyway?
Yes, if they are going to give it to somebody else to donate it, whether they get money back or they're just giving it away, it's not for the police to decide. For the police is to ensure that nobody sells a ticket within the stadium vicinity. If they're going to do it somewhere in town, it could be a transaction between 2 people, police will not be involved. But if that happens next to the stadium, within the perimeters, police will act accordingly.
Okay, so they can't sell it at the precinct, but to make the point, you said it'll be a criminal offense to sell it if actually 2 people meet at a coffee shop 1 kilometer away from the stadium, and they change the tickets, they swap over, and they get the money back for what they paid for it. That's allowed.
If you get intelligence that somebody is selling tickets a kilometer away from the station, we'll go and arrest that person. We do not want to see anybody selling a ticket to anyone, because tickets are finished. They were sold out. If somebody has got a ticket and for some reason can't go to the game, they must just donate that ticket to anybody without the knowledge of the police. Because if that donation involves money and goes away of it, there will be an action, which is arrest.
Okay, I'm completely puzzled by that. I'm just thinking, even during the 2010 World Cup and many other events, you are entitled to pass on we're not talking about making profit on the ticket. You're not, there's no racket around this. You're entitled to give it to another person and say, well, I paid 1,000 rands, I paid 150 rands in this case, I want my 150 back. Why do you have to donate it? It just puzzles me.
That's why we are saying, as the police, that transaction, if it has to happen, it should not happen where the police will spot it. It should not happen within the perimeters of the stadium, because it is a criminal offense to resale a ticket, because there's only one authorized ticketing outlet which confirmed that all the tickets were bought.
Okay, it's a case of don't let us catch you, but if you want to do it on your own, that's fine. Just the last thing on that part. Why can't they return? I mean, is there not a process then for them, like let's say today, to return the tickets digitally, electronically to the place that they bought it from?
That should be a matter between the buyer and the ticketing company, maybe together with the PSL, how they can dispose of their tickets if they do not want them. But for us as the police, we will not want to be in that space. It is not our specialty. Ours is to guard and ensure that the stadium is not overcrowded, that nobody sells fake or authentic tickets anyway at the stadium or anywhere where the police would see that transaction.
All right. Last thing, we're on to news time. We've had reports from people from Durban who are upset that they were not able to buy tickets. They felt, the allegation is that other places like Joburg were preferred via the ticketing system, and they're upset to such a degree that we've heard multiple reports that in fact they may disrupt access to the stadium tomorrow, like the type of protest that doesn't allow fans to go to the stadium. Do you know about it? And if so, what are you going to do about it?
We are aware of those threats. They are being peddled by people who have got ulterior motives. Because according to the stats that we received from the PSL and the ticketing company, is that over 30% of the tickets were bought in KwaZulu-Natal. That means the notion of saying tickets were only kept for people from Gauteng, it is wrong. There are people in Mpumalanga who got the tickets. There are people in KZN who got the tickets.
But very quickly, if they do want to disrupt access to the stadium, what's your plan?
We have beefed up our security, looking into those threats, and we are ready. We are not going to have any disturbance inside the stadium, outside the stadium, and on our roads. If that happens, we are going to confront them head on.
Okay, that's it. You're going to be a very busy man tomorrow, I'm sure about that, based upon what we've already heard. Police Commissioner, spokesperson for the KZN province, Colonel Robert Netshwanda, much appreciate your time. So there we are. Tickets or no tickets? What do you do next? I don't know. Let's get the news headlines. Here's the Kholofelo.
Thanks, Ashraf. Good afternoon. In the headlines this hour, the DA says it is of the view that the people of Orania and Kleinfontein are entitled through the constitution of this country to obtain self-determination. This emerged during their debate on enclaves in post-apartheid South Africa. FF Plus leader Dr. Corne Mulder says the late Douglas Gibson was a worthy political opponent and very competent politician. Gibson, a long-time member of the DA and ambassador to Thailand, passed away today. And International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola has congratulated the newly elected Pope Leo XIV. Lamola says that he hopes their pontiff will continue on the legacy placed by the late Pope Francis. Greg Coase has these details and more at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, some good news coming in from Durban at last. The M3, Durban bound, after Marion Hill Plaza going into Pinetown, has been reopened. An SANDF vehicle crashing off the highway earlier today closed the road. Back traffic up significantly. It has been reopened. That traffic backlog has been released, but of course it's all arriving into the rumble strip section of the M3, Durban bound near Pavilion. So very heavy from Pinetown's Paradise Valley as you line up through to Spaghetti Junction. Central Pinetown absolutely gridlocked. That's because all of the traffic that was on that M3 during the closure ended up diverting into Central Pinetown. That's going to take a while to sort itself out. The N2 south from Queenlandia to Spaghetti Junction, that's heavy. And the M19 under pressure today from Reservoir Hill, heading out towards Dunkeld Road on your way out towards New Germany side. Also a breakdown, N2 north at Gateway. Heavy backlogs from the Kwamashu Highway as you line up to get through to that one. And just if you're on your way to Durban, before you even get into all that mess, there is a crash between Nchanga and Cliffdale, causing a delay and a big backlog on the Durban-bound track as well. Joburg roadworks on the R21 north and southbound around the Benoni exit, very heavy leaving the airport and pretty heavily backed up on your way towards the airport as well. And Cape Town today, crash on the M5 running south at Racecourse Road in Kenilworth. That's a heavy queue. It starts right back on the Brooklyn side of Kuberg Road. So really heavy Kuberg Road through the interchange and onto that M5 all the way to Kenilworth. And also a breakdown by the looks of things on Malabongwe Drive opposite Dunoon. There's a big lot of traffic coming from the N7 onto Malabongwe round to Rivergate. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkgabele.
Tumi, have you posted your Kaizer Chiefs picture? You have, right?
I have.
Okay, people must check it out. Where's it on so
I've
they
been
know?
getting a lot of messages.
What are they saying? How
They're
could you?
basically saying, one, I'm a traitor, and the other one is, you know how there are fans that go to stadiums wearing jerseys, but they don't really support that club, and they go and cause chaos. I'm probably in the same group.
Oh,
like,
goodness.
guys.
Listen, I hope I got my history right. The person that I know, if you're talking about traitors, and I hope I've got my facts right here, regarding moving from Pirates to Kaizer Chiefs, is guess who?
Majoro.
Kaizer Motaung.
I mean.
There we are.
Do you understand?
I've got my facts right. So what are they talking about? You're in good company.
Yeah, I'm definitely in good company. But let's start things off with rugby this hour, where Jake White says that it's a very bad thing that Kurt-Lee Arendse is playing in Japan and not for the Bulls at the business end of the season. The star winger made 4 appearances in the Vodacom URC last October before joining the Mitsubishi Dynaboars in Japan on a sabbatical deal following test commitments with the Springboks in November. Now, the Bulls had hoped that he would return to Pretoria in time for the URC playoffs, but White has confirmed that Arendse had missed the cut-off date. In cricket, Proteas Test match coach Shukri Conrad has been appointed as head coach of the White Bulls team and will take over the reins across all formats for the senior men's national teams. This follows the resignation of Rob Walter at the beginning of April, and Conrad's first assignment in the limited overs arena will be the T20 International Tri-Series against Zimbabwe and New Zealand in July. And the 58-year-old says that the combined roles will make it a lot easier to manage the teams.
Yeah, it does make life easier. You obviously you like to use the word total control, but you've got a really good idea of where every single player is at, both physically in terms of a mental space and it might be tougher dealing with myself than it was with Rob sometimes, so but yeah, I must add that Rob and I had a wonderful working relationship, and yeah, it was pretty smooth sailing. But really excited about what would lie ahead, and like you rightly say, it would be a lot easier just managing both workloads and where players are at and whatever interventions need to happen.
Elsewhere, the India Premier League has been suspended for a week as tensions escalate between India and Pakistan. India has accused Pakistan of launching drone and missile attacks on 3 of its military bases, allegations that Pakistan denies completely. Now, the BCCI says that the suspension of the IPL follows consultations with the franchise's broadcasters and sponsors, calling the move a precaution in the interest of all stakeholders. In football, Amajita coach Raymond Mdaka says that finishing top of Group A is a primary target, and he expects his players to carry that through in the crucial COSAFA derby against Zambia. A win for Amajita will see them finishing on top of Group A with 9 points and possibly face the Democratic Republic of Congo in the quarterfinal on Monday. Amajita plays Zambia on the 30th of June Stadium in Cairo tonight at 8 p.m. And Mdaka knows that the regional derbies are not easy, but tonight's game is all about results.
Yeah, it is honestly, because it's something that has been happening for so long, to say Zambia, South Africa, Zambia. But what makes us fine is that every talk is better when you talk it in the field of play, because these are the talks and the experiences of the previous, we can only take them. Yes, but we can also change the situation. We can always make it better, depending on how we approach our games and how much effort do we put on our games.
Elsewhere, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says striker Erling Haaland is ready to make his return from injury this weekend. Haaland has been sidelined since March after sustaining an ankle injury in his side's FA Cup tie against Bournemouth, but returns in time to contest the final of that competition later this month. Finally, in EFC, the vacant women's flyweight title fight is expected to ignite the EFC hexagon tonight when Amanda Lino finally makes a return. Lino, who has not competed at this level in 5 years, is taking on Mariana Salles of Brazil, hoping to prove that she has not lost a touch.
My life just went on a different journey, and I focused on coaching and growing my business. A lot of people say you've been out of the game for a long time. I haven't been away from the sports. I've been doing MMA every day, in and out. And it was just about really finding the right time. And the time, like you said next to me, JC, the time is now. Everything just aligned for me, perfectly in my life. I feel really good. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life. And I made the decision to, kind of find that passion again and ignite that fire. And that's happened for me now. I found my reason why, and you'll see on Thursday night why.
Before I go, Ashraf, so basically the story is, from the interview that I heard, I can buy a ticket to go to watch the Soweto Derby at the Moses Mabhida
Basically,
Stadium.
this is it.
But
you
I
can,
can't...
You can support Pirates and change your mind and decide to support Chiefs. But you can't buy a ticket and decide you can't go and sell your ticket to another person. That is a criminal offense, according to the spokesperson. That's the story.
But what if something like a funeral came up and
Whatever.
someone else
You are not
that
authorized to sell. Only one selling agent. You're not authorized to sell. So it's a criminal offense, which I find quite bizarre because you have taken ownership of it. It's yours. You're not selling it there's no black market. This is just normal price. Crazy. They say you can't. Then they say, well, if you are doing it, donate it. Or if you can't, do it so that we can't see you. Something along that line.
Crazy. Anyway, I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Rise and shine every weekday morning on Expresso.
Now, whether it's a motivational Monday or even a health Tuesday, this is the best way to start your day.
Let our trending tech keep you ahead of the curve.
Join us online and vote in our fashion poll.
Elevate your cooking skills every Wednesday.
It's the best in morning entertainment.
So wake up with us.
6 to 9 a.m. on S3.
Cheers.
Amatats ladies and Tuhi Twatla ladies are meeting for a tense battle. They are both in search of 3 crucial points. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the spectacular action of Mzansi Women's Football, University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Royal AM Ladies FC, the Sunday 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
We spend a lot of time looking for deals, but we don't invest the same time in our health. Your health buys you more time with the people you love. So who are you staying healthy for, and how can you improve your health? Choose Dis-Chem Life, the life cover that rewards you for living healthier with lower premiums and more cover. Visit dischemlife.co.za now. Dis-Chem Life. Choose a better partner for life. Dis-Chem Life is an authorized FSP 50594, underwritten by Guard Risk Life, a licensed life insurer FSP 76. T's and C's apply.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mweketi. Because where words fail, music speaks.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And Paswane Mphatlele's got all those numbers. He's the senior accounts manager at Makwe Fund Managers. Paswane, you got news, local and global. Go for it.
Yeah, this afternoon, Ashraf and your listeners as well. We're closing down the week. Market sentiment remains balanced. I guess it's at the back of those US trade deals that have been coming through with the likes of UK recently. Though it was not a lot of material because we've seen in the UK the FTSE was just up 0.2. The currency, the pound not doing much. The bonds not really showing such excitement around it. But Americans are still looking forward to the bigger deal. That's a de-escalation with China over the weekend. Already Trump is just signaling hawkishness around the 80% mark. We'll see how that plays out. Further support is generally by the sentiment around the US and global recession is not really taking place. It's easy, and this is reflected through the dollar because that trade there is failing to break above the 100, reflecting that it's going to continue to ease down, especially with the rate cuts coming in the next months as currently priced in. And this is supportive for generally the rest of the world in terms of their currencies. Oil is also getting supported in these consensus, up 0.2 at $63.30 a barrel. We've seen other commodities are also liking this. CRB index that is a good reflection, is up 0.8%. Further thanks to the fact that in China's trade current account is in surplus, exports are strong, although there's a dip in imports. Gold is also up 0.7% at $3,330 an ounce. Bitcoin is also good, covering good ground. Currently for one Bitcoin is around 103,000. Equities are holding up to close the week, although it's a mixed play. We've seen the UK yesterday, it's been flat, but now it's just generally trading lower, down 0.2 across the board. DAX CAC up 0.8. JC is up by 1.2% thanks to financial resources up by 1.3%, industrials up 1%. In the currency space, we're seeing some weakness there. Rand against the dollar is at 18.27, but relatively positive. Rand against the euro is at 20.58, and against the pound 24.78.
Right, perfect. You have a great weekend because it is Friday, so Monday is when we talk once again to the team at Makwe Fund Managers. But we talk to you right now.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
And don't forget, we'll have a chat with the fireside chat. So every Friday I have a guest for an hour. And we have fabulous guests, really, really fabulous guests, right? And go to the website, safm.co.za, go podcast, then the National Pulse. You'll find all the different interviews we've got up as a podcast, so you can listen to it, re-listen, share as well. But my guest today is Professor Mashudu Chifularo. Remember, he's the professor who was in charge to perform the world's first middle ear transplant using 3D printed bones. It's 6 years now since he's done that. Right, let's get on to some of the other bigger issues. What about the Pope? Kwetshube in Lisuki. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, thank you.
All right. I want to comment about the election or the selection of Pope Leo. You know, Ashraf, before the conclave, President Trump showed us that portrait of him being a pope.
Yeah, last week, a few days ago, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are two things there. It's either Trump was influencing the cardinals or Trump knew before that the next pope will be from America.
Oh, I see where you're going. So you're saying he had insider information or he actually influenced the vote?
He knew, Ashraf. He knew. You must say the timing of that portrait of the AI.
Okay, got that.
That timing is so, and to me, Ashraf, that election is not fair, man. It's not because of that. If Trump didn't do such a thing, maybe we will be satisfied. But
well,
now,
I don't know. Many say he's the most un-American, this Pope, and lots of his comments are very much out of sync with Trump's views on issues like refugees. So let's see what plays out. But I get your theory. It makes interesting conversation for the weekend, I can tell you now. That's Kwetshube, right? Elliot in Klebecha, go for it. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Arasaf, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good indeed. Right, your point?
Right, my brother. I just want to comment on the Afrikaner question.
Yeah, go for it.
That if they are going to leave the country and take the citizenship of America.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that it is so very painful and devastating, not only for me, but for the entire country, that the citizens that were actually born in this country can actually live in that way to another country, you see. But the other thing that I want to say is that we need not to dwell much on that, because we have many problems in this country. Many problems. You see. If they want to go to USA, it's their choice. And that is there are atrocities that were actually committed by those people, especially during apartheid.
But okay, I hear you, Elliot. The difference is why it's not their choice is they are going as refugees, and the basis of their refugee status is they are, as a refugee, against persecution, really, in your country, they have to tell us how bad this country is for them to get the refugee status, which is what they've done. That's the point of difference, Elliot. Yeah.
Yeah. The question of them being refugees from this country, the people who needed to have left this country, especially during the very challenging days, are the oppressed, but they never left their country. Why? There is nothing that is done to those people.
Yeah, but we're not talking of the same people. I mean, those people who left at that time, who went into exile, they were committed to rebuilding South Africa. So we're talking about a different reason, mentality, principles completely. I don't even think we should put them in the same sentence, actually. Elliot, thanks for that, Elliot. Got us thinking. Appreciate your time, right? Let's get further comments from you. In fact, we'll do it right after this. Yeah.
Do you want an experience of a lifetime? Where every day is filled with challenges of providing Lisa Vanderpump curated experiences while dealing with rivalries, romances, and misadventures. It's drama at Vanderpump's French Estate. Chantel Rosabelle and the staff can't wait to give you a front row seat to all the drama. Catch Vanderpump Villa, Saturdays on S3 at 8:30 p.m. S3 open up.
Marawai, why is the boss of breaking down spreadsheets now on the side of the road breaking down in a broken down car? Marawai, why aren't you insured with Santam, the leading short-term insurer that gives you emergency roadside assistance and home drive services when you need them most? To switch, call 0860 444 444 or SMS cover to 36101. Santam. This is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
It takes a while before these arch rivals meet in the final. But when they do, everything stops. Nabi is confident to delight the Amakhosi fans.
If the fans love Kaizer Chiefs, automatically is love Nabi.
While the back-to-back victor, Rivero, chases the third consecutive title.
Whenever it's time to go, we're going with the intention to be competitive, to try to be better than the opponent.
This is the Nedbank Cup final. Witness the Soweto Derby. Golden Black battles it out with Black and White on Saturday, 10 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Right, this comments. One, the PSL does not learn. These are all text messages. The PSL does not learn. After the Ellis Park disaster, the Commission of Inquiry said all matches involving the two clubs must always be played at the FNB Stadium. Is that the case, that it can only be played at the FNB? If so, why then would it go to Durban? Ashraf, the South Africa-US relationship is becoming difficult as this issue of resettling white South Africans is a hot potato, and Pretoria is definitely going to fail to reset the political dialogue between the two countries. But maybe people who are going to the US are going to be there for their personal choices, and people come and go, but the ones with resources are going to resettle nicely in the US, and President Trump is definitely not in agreement with the South African current political situation. I mean, that we know, TG, thank you. I think the difference is they can resettle where they want, but they're getting refugee status on the basis of them effectively testifying that South Africa is a mess and they've been persecuted. That's one. Another one, I hope is not going to be a stampede at the stadium. There we are, and here's another one.
Ashraf, Floris again here from the Western Cape. Let me tell you, with regards to the derby, I bet my bottom dollar this match will not start on time. There's going to be chaos, especially people who are still waiting for their refunds. If they would have moved this match to Cape Town, who has a much bigger capacity, stadium capacity, and Cape Townians normally arrive on time, there is going to be a mess. And it's just sad that our spectators just never learn from our past mistakes when it comes to Chiefs and Pirates matches. There's always a delay. I just hope everything runs smoothly and that the game will start on time and the Chiefs will win. Please. Have a good job. Bye-bye.
Last part is interesting. Please. Like, okay, since you're begging, we'll see what we can do for you. Make a plan about that. As far as starting on time, I told my wife, I said, Jamila, we're going shopping tomorrow. We've got a few things to do. I need to pick up my driver's license as well. I need to be home by about 3 o'clock in time for the 3:30 game. According to what you're saying, chill, Ashraf, it may happen at 4 o'clock so I can have extended shopping or something along that line. We'll see.
Hi, Ashraf. Uvusi Lushaba in Durban. I'm not sure if you've touched on this with regards to the Amerikaners that's finally moving to the US. What happens to their South African citizenship? Does it stand? And with the recent constitutional court case, what happens when it's time for voting? Will they be able to vote in South African elections even though they're in the US as refugees? So how does it work?
Well, moving ahead of yourself about voting, I'm not even thinking about that. As far as citizenship is concerned, well, we haven't touched on it today, but perhaps on Monday, depending on what comes through, we need to then confirm and chat to Home Affairs about that, right? My sense in this case, and this is just me, that there's one thing, moving to another country, which is fine, but if you take out refugee status on the basis of saying you're seeking effectively asylum, that means you're at risk in being in that country, then I think, why would you want to be a citizen of that country? You would automatically forfeit it yourself, and effectively that country would not want you to be a citizen of that country and still diss them and say, I'm getting out because I can't live here. That's my quick thought.
Brashraf and fellow SFM listeners, good afternoon. My name is Tulani Nzima in Croydon. Brashraf, I think people need to understand what is a lifestyle audit. It has absolutely nothing to, or it cannot be immediately equated to criminal. One being involved in criminal activities. Let me give you an example. If Ashraf, you are not married and you've got an income of 10 rand, you can't be able to live beyond the 10 rand because of credit cards, and most probably because you have children who are supporting and taking care of other things for you, and you have a partner that is able to buy things for you and so forth. So unfortunately, lifestyle audit only looks at you as an individual because those others are not contracted to the employer. Thank you.
I think you're spot on. That's why we must be mature about it. So when we've had callers saying, they need to be nailed immediately, like, no, there is a process. And you're quite right. You can be earning 10,000 and then confirm that your rich family supports you by giving you 90,000 rands extra in donations a month because they've got the money. That's the process that has to take place. So I concur with you.
Good morning, Ashraf. It's Shubedi Paul Mudise and Rocklands. I'm in Bloemfontein. I believe you me not, Ashraf. Nothing is going to happen to those people. Nothing. Remember, this thing is it's a syndicate. You cannot touch down here. Oh, this can be the small fish. The big fish are there. And if you touch these ones, they are going to kick out the names of the top structure. Then it will just end. Same like that thing of mine boss or the tiger. You just get scot-free. It's Mudise, Rocklands, Bloemfontein.
Thanks. So the tiger will be on the run, you're saying. It'll just be scot-free and the rest of it is just what? I don't know, spaza stuff. Okay. Let's see if I got another one on that same issue.
Hi, Ashraf. It's Joseph here from Randbeck. Regarding the lifestyle audit, I think to me it's reactionary. You wait for people to do certain things that are wrong, and then after that you audit their lives. I mean, that is very reactionary. You have to put in mechanisms that will prevent corruption to happen. Not wait for people to do corruption and then you conduct lifestyle audit and then and what are you going to do about it anyway? Because you don't have proof. Come on, guys.
Okay, but I don't know if I agree with you. I mean, you can put in systems, but you can't put all the mechanisms to prevent everything. If that's the case, you don't even need a police force because nobody will commit crime because you're going to put in the systems that they cannot. People will want to do that, and how do you then? What's the systems after that?
Hi, Ashraf. Roskin Pologwan. That list now says that American refugee status what was extended across all races who all want to leave because we want the American dream. He must speak for himself. I don't want to go to America. I'm fine in South Africa. I'll contribute to the well-being and the South Africa that I want through the vote, through raising my voice and all that. So he must say, I want to go to America. He wants the piece of American dream. Not everybody wants to do that.
Well, I agree with you.
Not even all the people that thing is extended to them. Some of them don't want to go. Thank you very much.
I think many don't want to go, even those that is being extended to them. But you're right. He can speak for himself, but you do speak for me. We speak the same language. Let me just remind you, we'll have the fireside chat with Professor Mashudu Chifularo. Look forward to that. I'll tell you what. Now, here's a champion. Here's a guy who's top of his game, made in South Africa. Listen to that conversation coming up. Let's get the news now. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg Hose.
Thank you so much, Ashraf. DA speaks on Orania, and South Africa congratulates the new Pope. Good day to you. The DA says it's of the view that the people of Orania in the Northern Cape and Kleinfontein in Gauteng are entitled, through the constitution of the country, to obtain self-determination. The party said this during the multi-plenary discussion in Parliament about the creation of these establishments post-apartheid. DA MP Lindy Nhlanhla.
So let us begin with what is beyond dispute here. As honourable members have said before me, our constitution is the supreme law of the land. It enshrines and guarantees the freedom of choice, association, cultural expression, and the right to self-determination. These are not just abstract ideals, honourable members. They are hard-won rights of a nation that emerged from a dark past of racial divisions and oppression, and the scars are still showing. Communities of Orania and Kleinfontein argue that they are preserving their cultural identity, language, and way of life.
Meanwhile, the EFF is calling for legal action to be taken against white people who are living in racial enclave populations such as Orania and Kleinfontein. The EFF leader, Julius Malema, who called the debate, says the establishment of these communities is a threat to nation building. Party MP Carl Niehaus spoke on behalf of Malema.
The EFF demands immediate action. Those who establish, sustain or defend these enclaves must face the full force of the law. The Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act must be enforced, and those guilty of perpetuating these racist policies must face imprisonment. Racism is not a trivial offence. It is a crime that jeopardizes the nation building and social cohesion we hold dear. The government must outlaw these enclaves and compel their integration into a non-racial South Africa.
The late Douglas Gibson was a worthy political opponent and very competent politician. That's according to the leader of the FF+, Corné Mulder. Gibson, a long-time member of the DA and ambassador to Thailand, passed away today. Mulder says Gibson was a sharp and astute politician.
Douglas Gibson was a senior and experienced member of parliament. He was an astute opponent with a beautiful sense of humour and a very bright mind. He also served as South Africa's ambassador to Thailand. I would like to express my sincere condolences, also on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus, to his friends and family.
The NPA in Mpumalanga says not 5 but 2 suspects made a brief appearance in the KwaMhlanga Magistrates Court this morning. This in relation to the disappearance of journalist Serent Lovu and his partner. The case has been delayed after one of the 2 suspects fell ill and had to be rushed to hospital. NPA spokesperson Monica Nyuswa.
The 2 accused that appeared before the KwaMhlanga Magistrates Court earlier this morning is Mkhowe and Skosana. Both of them are facing 2 counts of kidnapping each. So they appeared before this court today for the presiding officer dealing with the matter to deal with the matter of media application. At this stage, the matter has been put on hold while one of the accused is being taken for medical attention.
A woman has been seriously wounded after being hacked by a panga by an unknown man in Malumulele, Limpopo. She was taken to hospital. According to police, the woman was walking to a clinic where she works as a community home-based caregiver when she was attacked by the lone criminal. Police say the suspect is still at large. The International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola congratulated the newly elected Pope Leo XIV. The Pope, known as Robert Prevost, is the first US-born leader of the Catholic Church. Lamola says he hopes the pontiff will continue the legacy of the late Pope Francis.
We congratulate the Roman Catholic Church, we congratulate the Pope for this outcome in a democratic process that produced a Pope, and we wish him well and all the best in his task, and we hope that he will continue in the progressive inputs of the late Pope, who had brought the Roman Catholic to engage on very ground issues of peace, of equality, of resolving global challenges on climate change.
The top story, the DA says it's of the view that people of Oranje in the Northern Cape and Kleinfontein in Gauteng are entitled through the Constitution to obtain self-determination. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Goos.
And coming up in your sports, the Sawamdaka sets sights on AFCON quarterfinals in Zambia. Conrad appointed Proteas men's all-format coach and IPL suspended for 1 week. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, Durban having a very busy afternoon ahead of a busy weekend, of course, with the Nedbank Cup final on. A lot of spectators, a lot of visitors into the city, and that coupled with all the roadworks and breakdowns, it's been a nightmare today. The one bit of good news, the M3 going into the M7 Pinetown, that scene has been recovered. The road has been reopened, so that big backlog's got through, but of course it's released it all into the rumble strips near Pavilion Mall. So from Paradise Valley, Pinetown side, M3 going in is heavy. Before you even get there, you've got the matter of a stationary truck and a crash scene between Hammersdale and Key Ridge, Cliffdale area. So Durban bound quite heavily backed up. There's also a big delay from Key Ridge up to Cliffdale and Hammersdale on your way out to Pietermaritzburg. Into south, the breakdown at Spaghetti Junction, that stays heavy coming from Inunda Road. And there's been a crash now on the M4 up at the M41. It's up by Mshlanga Rocks Drive. The M4 from Blue Lagoon heading towards Mshlanga is really heavily backed up today. Joburg, just a reminder of the roadworks on the R21. They are both sides around the Benoni exit. The heaviest traffic is going north, leaving the airport. It's a really big backlog. Roadworks, Mike 1 south at Carr Street. Delays coming down from the Melrose side today. And Cape Town still battling to clear up that scene on the M5 south. It's a crash in the Kenilworth area by the Racecourse Road exit. Traffic is heavy. It's all the way back through deep into Brooklyn on the Coburg Road. And worth a mention, Malabongwe Drive coming off the N7 to Rivergate's heavy. Behind that, the N7 north passing Dunoon, queuing to that Malabongwe off-ramp. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Being kind to each other is Ubudu.
It's always time to play on Takalani Sesame.
Chetu, do you want to play Market Day now?
Doing things together as a community can be even more fun than doing them on our own.
Amma loves it so much when we can just be ourselves and learn about our culture together.
Tune in to see what makes you special for the all-new episodes of Takalani Sesame. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on SABC2.
Amatax ladies and Twitli ladies are meeting for a tense battle. They are both in search of 3 crucial points. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the spectacular action of Mzansi Women's Football, University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Royal AM Ladies FC, the Sunday 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hi, my name is Kutlwana Masote, your host of Weekend Sundowner Classics every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. exclusively on SAFM. Now, this is where you get your best classical music jams on any radio platform. Join me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between 4 and 7 p.m. Weekend Sundowner Classics.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so every Friday, you know that we get into fireside chat mode, and my guest is Professor Mashudu Chifularo. Absolutely stellar in terms of what he does, and we'll go through all of that just now. But before we get to him, an issue was raised about the Afrikaners who've taken out refugee status in the USA and what happens to their South African citizenship, and can they vote in the next election? Some people are thinking further ahead. In fact, we've got Dr. Aaron Matsuledi on the line, who's done many things from health to home affairs. You've done the ultimate all-rounder, so I appreciate you calling in as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners.
Thank you.
Yes, because I've been in that area for 5 years, as you know. I had people phoning you, asking questions, and I thought I could help.
Go ahead,
on
please
two
do.
issues. Yes. On the issue of the Constitutional Court judgment of having two nationalities,
Yeah.
what it means practically is that if Elon Musk, it's just that I'm speaking under correction because I don't know when he left the country. But if he's one of those who qualify about the 1995 citizenship thing, it means if he wants to come back and vote in South Africa, he's definitely going to vote. In fact, I believe that's why DA was chasing the issue, because they say they've got 2 million people who are staying outside the country who they want to vote.
Yes.
And there's a hope and belief that they will vote for them. That's what it means. On the issue of refugees, Ashraf, remember refugee status is not controlled by Trump. It's only that Trump doesn't obey any international law. But refugee status is controlled by United Nations Convention of 1951, the United Nations Protocol of 1967, here on the African continent, plus the OAU Convention of 1969. In terms of that, once you are given a refugee status, any contact back with your country of origin is called reavailment. You have reavailed yourself from a country which you claim to have run away from, and so you must lose your refugee status. That's how it works internationally.
Okay, so your point is what I thought as well, that for you to be granted refugee status, whether it's from the UN or even Donald Trump's own way, the reasons you've been given that is you have confirmed to Trump that South Africa is not a country that you can tolerate living in. So they give you that status, and therefore, if you come back here, you've given them a reason to say, clearly you're not sound about your status. That's why you're comfortable coming back to South Africa, yeah?
Not only coming back, just any contact with that government where you ran from. For instance, even if you communicate or visit their embassy right here in the country where you ran to, that's called reavailment. In other words, you must cut all contact. Yes, definitely. They can't save you because they are supposed to be your enemy because you ran away, you couldn't tolerate.
Yeah.
If you understand what I mean, you couldn't tolerate them, they can't tolerate you. So you can't go back to be served by them. It's like being divorced, but going back to the person you are divorced to, and still being together with them when you actually told the court that the relationship is irrevocably broken down.
Okay, and because it's a safety issue, because I mean primarily that's the reason they would want to flee the country, do I take it they're not even allowed to come back here on holiday?
If you go back on holiday, then it means you didn't run away, you were lying. You can't. I'm saying any form of contact, Ashraf, is called reavailment. You are reavailing yourself back to the regime who you claimed will harm you, does no longer want you. So if you ran away on the basis of prosecution, why do you visit for a holiday? Because they will prosecute you. So it doesn't, that's why I'm saying even visiting their embassy here, once you do that, you have reavailed yourself.
Okay, oh goodness. Well, thanks for clearing that up. Much appreciate your time. As I said, the Minister of All-Round Affairs, because you've done so many different things in that space. Much appreciate you calling in, Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. Well, there you are. So, you have to be very careful. I'm just wondering if these people, so what happens if they are in the USA and they continue being in South African community WhatsApp groups? Does that mean they're still in contact with South Africa and they run the risk of having their refugee status revoked in that country and they have to come back to South Africa? Oh my goodness, we could be in for an interesting time. It's clearly unprecedented for all of us here. And this is the National Pulse.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Right, let's get then into the fireside chat mode. So every Friday we have this conversation up to the top of the hour. And my guest today is Professor Mashudu Chifulara. We've had good to talk to you and good to see you once again. Much appreciate you connecting with us on the show.
No, thank you so much. It's an honor for you to welcome me. I always listen to you all the time, but thank you, I appreciate.
Thank you. Well,
I'm still a champion in a way.
I know that.
I'm a champion.
Well, I completely concur with you anyway. And I think I'm very privileged to obviously interview you, but to know you and to be on the same WhatsApp groups as you. So there's huge privilege that I have. But we thought let's talk about this. I mean, clearly you are a champion, as you yourself say. But instead of me reading out a dull biography, tell people why you are a champion. You did something 6 years ago that is just mind-blowing. Tell me what you did.
I pioneered the middle ear transplant in a patient who could not hear, and then I restored the whole middle ear, and it's 6 years now, and the patient is still fine and perfect. And that was, I used the latest technology, 3D technology, and just to realize that it has never been done anywhere in the world, and is recorded in Wikipedia, everywhere where you go, social media. I am the first to have done it. When you check on the 21st century, one of the top innovation, the name of Mashudu Chiflaro from Steve Biko, academic and University of Pretoria, comes somewhere there in the bottom. So that makes me a champion.
Well, absolutely.
Yes.
That's fabulous, right? How did you... So clearly you were talking about someone who could not hear. That was the problem. What suggested to you that you had to go the route that you did regarding the middle ear implant using 3D printed bones in this case here? Because you're talking about effectively artificial intelligence a good few years ago, right?
Exactly. No, the idea was looking for solution. And as I always say that adapt or die or innovate or perish. But my philosophy is that every day I look for solution. So every small thing that comes, I'm trying to look, how can it be done better? And that is the reason why I have to look around and realize that there's something called 3D technology. Let me give it a try. And the rest is history.
And it certainly is. How did that change? How did that change your life?
Oh, Ashraf, it has changed my life significantly. I'm known all over the world as one of the influential ENT specialists all over the world. You go to social media, you go everywhere, whether some they accept it or not, but they know there is a South African who has done such a magnificent work. And for me, I think as a champion, you do a groundbreaking work and you make people really look at things differently. So wherever I go, someone they meet me, they said, wow, at least today I can see you face to face.
Wow.
I only see you on social media. So I came from an ordinary doctor to a highly known and respected. Sometimes I Google myself on artificial intelligence.
Okay.
It still say I'm among the top influential ENT specialists in South Africa, in Africa, and in the world. That's when I also got an African Genius Award, which was really an honor to me.
Well,
so it has really changed my life.
Well, I'm glad. I mean,
yes.
Here's a good example of, I often say this, when you win, South Africa wins, and when South Africa wins, you win. Now, here's a good example.
Yes.
Your victory is a victory for the country, and when the country's status is raised, it then gets back to you to say these are the people that have done that. So maybe we should say thank you to you because you played a huge role in raising the level of South Africa in one way or the other.
I appreciate it and I'm honored. But some of the things that such thing happen when you least expect it, because you are just doing your work and you suddenly realize that these things make such a big impact in the country. I'm also on some of the advert for South Africa as one of the leader in innovative leadership to show that in this country we have a lot of innovators, we have a lot of leaders, we have a lot of people who look for solutions. So I'm humbled.
Well, absolutely. How? Just here's the thing, and I'm looking at a quote from you, which just tells people exactly who you are. And it says, people like me never arrive. After climbing one mountain, we want to climb another. So the key word here is people like me never arrive. And then you said, if I was easily satisfied, I would have never achieved all the breakthroughs that I have in my life. You clearly live that quote, right?
Yes, I really live that quote. And the other one that you'll be surprised, I just got it from one of my favorite actor, Denzel Washington. He said, I'm not competing with anybody, but I'm competing with myself. And I check how I was yesterday compared to today.
Yeah, I think that's an important
So
one.
therefore,
Measure
every
daily.
day, yes, I measure myself daily with what I've done yesterday, because what I've done yesterday is a history. So you cannot be a surgeon or any soccer player or any person that you don't get better with time. Something is not right.
Well, I'm going to ask you what's next. What's the next mountain? Just think about that. We'll get to you right after this.
Bafana want to seal their envelope to East Africa with a paramount victory in front of their home fans. But the Flames plan to double the heat. This is the second leg of the final round of the Total Energies CAF Chan 2025 qualifiers. South Africa tackles Malawi on Sunday, 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
The Morning Brief.
Why are you not making a specific allegation that says this judge that presided over this issue, we believe, is taking some gratuity from somewhere or has business interests that are supplementing their lifestyle, etc.?
No, it's not the case. And we're calling for a lifestyle audit on the basis of that. And I think the point that you're making, actually, you're answering it yourself. So let's allow for a process where effectively we call upon a lifestyle audit. We as parliamentarians, by the way, are held accountable. So the reality here is that we are calling for a lifestyle audit. We're saying let that be made public and let's see if there's any allegations that come from that. But I can tell you now, we're aware of certain judges that have been influenced and that will come out.
That's Nhlamulo Ndlela, who is the MK Party national spokesperson.
This is Dula Sizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Well, there we are. Professor Mashudu Chifularo is my guest on the Friday Fireside Chat. Lots to consider. So I asked you that before the break. What's the next mountain you're climbing?
It's a top secret. Maybe you'll never know. We're going to put a bread chip in somebody's brain for them to hear.
There we are.
There, I spoke it.
So just repeat it. So
watch out.
Just repeat it. You're going to?
We'll put a hearing chip in somebody's brain.
Is that a serious plan?
And then you won't need any hearing aid. You won't need anything. Then you'll be able to help the kids with autism and all the people with stroke.
And is that a part of your plan now? I mean, what's the plan to do that?
If I can tell you, Ashraf, if somebody can give you my million and billions and just put me in a room to do a research with a research scientist, we can work on that totally. Most people, they don't want any gadgets outside their ears to be seen. And I have a lot of ideas. Why don't you see a pacemaker? Because it's under the skin.
Yeah.
And the battery can last for 20 years.
That's a good point.
So why do we have to have hearing aids outside?
Well, listen, somebody's got to respond to you and get this world champion, that's what you are, to try and, again, develop something even more innovative than what you've done before. How, with regard to the implant that you did initially, have you not had a reason to do it again to other people? And have others done so or not?
At the moment, no. I mean, it's sad to say I've been, struggling to get ethics. The last time I spoke to you some years back, till today, we are almost with SAPRA, so we're a little bit advanced. And from there, I'm back with my University of Pretoria. For some strange reason, people don't want to see some groundbreaking work coming out to the world. I don't know why. So if they can do anything to delay you, they'll delay you and delay you. and refuse you any access to anything. Somebody once asked me that, is South African serious about innovation? I said, they are not, because immediately when somebody is an innovator, they have done something, why don't you approach him and say, how can we help? How can we uplift? When you put me on the radio like this, you are giving me an opportunity for people to hear me more and more. I've not yet done to anybody because you need to get SAPRA approval, you need to get ethical approval, you need to get everything approval. And those people have been delaying me for the past 6 years. But I'm not going to give up.
Well, I hope you don't.
If I have to die waiting for it, I'll keep on waiting.
Okay. Let's talk about your...
But I have a lot of ideas.
Let's talk about your journey. So what's your working title now? Where you mentioned Steve Biko Academic. What is it you do there?
University of Pretoria, I work as a chief specialist and a chairperson or head of the department at Steve Biko Academic Hospital under the Academic University of Pretoria. So I teach undergraduate students. I teach specialist doctors who are ENT specialists, and I've trained a lot of them. And I teach guys who are doing fellowship. In other words, they just come and observe how we do things. And we teach nurses. We teach other health professionals, all health sciences. People who are not really doctors, but they're just interested on what goes on in ENT, like audiologists.
Okay.
And then I do private work where I do these operations. But in the hospital, you teach them surgical skills, you teach them how to operate, you teach them how to assess the patient, you teach them everything, including operations.
Well, lots to do. Let's then ask you where it all started. I know you're from the Thohoyandou Venda region, right? So take me back to the early days of your early life and how you moved from there onto this journey.
My early life was a barefooted scholar who had not even food parcel going to school. The only thing that we used to eat going to school was sweet potato. Because where I grew up, we had a lot of sweet potato and vegetable. That is a region of Matanga area where it's farming. So we're doing farming. And all what one wanted was just to become something better, because as early as I was young, I knew that if I don't get a degree, I'll never get anywhere. And I later realized that I was only 9 years when I decided that I want to become a medical doctor.
Really? What happened
from
there?
that,
explain that story about the 9-year-old deciding to become a medical doctor.
We used to have a career guidance period, and the teacher will ask you, what do you want to become? So out of a class of maybe around 45 kids, I stood up and said, I want to become a doctor. And the teacher said, no, you're not going to become a doctor. You can't make it. You're not good enough. You're not intelligent enough. But that encouraged me not to tell people about their future, because you don't hold people's destination. So when I meet students now, whom I meet at 4th year, I tell them that you are the greatest that can be. You are the top of the crop, and believe in yourself. Don't believe in what we tell you. Some people, when I say that, they think that I'm still angry with my teacher. No, I'm not angry with my teacher. It's just that whatever the teacher said, I never believed it, because going through school, a computer can do better than a student.
Wow.
Because it's just reproducing whatever you've been told. There's no intelligence there. You just have a good memory retention. That's all.
Are you still in the
That's
same?
why people can have.
Are you still in the same WhatsApp
I'm still
group
in the same.
are you in the same WhatsApp group as your teacher now? That same teacher.
That same teacher, unfortunately, she passed away.
Okay.
She was a lady. I still remember her so well.
But did you meet again
she
afterwards?
Unfortunately, I never met her. but I know that she learned and her kids, they learned that I became what I became. Because the idea was their words of say you won't become something. I wanted to prove the point to myself and to her that contrary to what she thinks, I'm going to be even better than that.
And you certainly.
So the words was the words of encouraging me. And I'm forgiven here. I have nothing against it.
You won't become anything. It's like, okay, I'll do it. There we are. So we're going to continue chatting to Professor Mashulu Chifularo. You can take a break for a couple of minutes because we're going to get to news and into other things too, and finance. Let's get the news headlines first. Here's Greg Gross.
Quick look at the headlines. The city of Tshwane has confirmed that over 60 sinkholes across the metro have been declared a disaster. The DA says it's of the view that the people of Orania in the Northern Cape and Kleinfontein in Gauteng are entitled through the constitution to obtain self-determination. And the US ambassador to Israel has confirmed that a new mechanism for providing food and other aid inside Gaza through private companies is being prepared as Israel's blockade continues. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Hey, good afternoon. Joburg first up. R21 away from the airport. Very heavy backlogs today. The roadworks there between the Benoni and Bupsfontein exits. And if you're leaving the airport, that queue's almost back as far as the R24 Albertina Cecilia Highway. Bit of pressure coming south to the airport with roadworks on that side as well. The bike one going south down towards Crown. The roadworks at Carr Street is still there. That's the queue back in the Houghton Estate area today. The N1 up through Midrand for your Friday. Not too bad. Get past Allendale. Opens up quite nicely, but you will see a bit of traffic pressure around Centurion, around John Foster up to about Garsfontein before you're out of that. Durban, a busy weekend in store. A lot of traffic heading that way. A lot of hold-ups as well. Crash on the Pietermaritzburg bypass. Durban bound. That's queue number 1. Crash and a breakdown at Cliffdale. That's queue number 2. Queue number 3 going into Durban is over the rumble strips at Pavilion Mall. That's quite heavy from Paradise Valley as you line up into Spaghetti Junction. Do drive carefully amongst that big volume this evening, please. Cape Town looks like roadworks on the N2 inbound at Khayelitsha Miwe. That's heavy coming through from Baden Powell Drive, and the earlier crash done on the M5 at Kenilworth Racecourse Road has been cleared. That traffic clearing through pretty quickly as well. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapeli.
Right, Jimmy, can we talk soccer now? I'm assuming you're talking about Chiefs, because there's no way Chiefs and Pirates can't be the biggest story of the day with a few hours to go before the Cup final.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start off with rugby, actually. Jake White says that it's a very bad thing that Curtly Arendse is playing in Japan and not for the Bulls at the business end of the season. Now, the star winger made 4 appearances in the Vodacom URC last October before joining the Mitsubishi Dinabos in Japan on a sabbatical deal following his test commitments with the Springboks in November. Now, the Bulls have hoped that he would return to Pretoria in time for the URC playoffs, but White confirmed on Friday that Arendse had missed the cut-off date. Then Proteas test match coach Shukri Conrad was quick to dismiss any talk of making wholesale changes to the philosophy instilled into the team by Walter, saying that he will look to build on what his predecessor started. Under Walter's leadership, the Proteas reached their first ever ICC Men's T20 World Cup final in 2024. He also saw the 50-over team to the semi-finals of the ICC Men's World Cup in 2023. Now, Conrad will start building up to the T20 World Cup early next year, as well as the 50-over World Cup here on home soil in 2027.
I don't think I want to do things differently. I think Rob obviously laid a really good foundation, did some wonderful things. You only need to look at the performances at ICC events. So I'll try and build on what Rob has done. And yes, those processes have started already. You know, as recently as this morning, still just chatted to some of our players at the IPL and abroad. In terms of potentially what their year can look like in terms of active involvement. So the planning processes have started. You know, it's not one that ever stops. So, and it will be modified as we go along, obviously. But yeah, I'll be excited and looking to build on what Rob has done, and then obviously take whatever good things we've done in the test space and hopefully transfer that into the white ball space as well.
Well, the India Premier League has been suspended for a week as tensions escalate between India and Pakistan. India has accused Pakistan of launching drone and missile attacks on 3 of its military bases, allegations that Pakistan denies. Now, the BCCI says that the suspension of the IPL follows consultation with franchises, broadcasters and sponsors, calling the move a precaution in the interest of all stakeholders. In football, Amajita coach Raymond Mdaka says that finishing top of Group A is his primary target, and he expects his players to carry that through in the crucial COSAFA derby against Zambia. A win for Amajita will see them finish on top of Group A with 9 points and possibly face the Democratic Republic of Congo in the quarterfinal on Monday. Now, Amajita plays Zambia at the 30th June Stadium in Cairo tonight at 8 p.m. and Mdaka knows that regional derbies are not easy, but tonight's game is all about results.
Yeah, it is honestly, because it's something that has been happening for so long, to say Zambia, South Africa, Zambia. But what makes us fine is that every talk is better when you talk it in the field of play, because these are the talks and the experiences of the previous, we can only take them. Yes, but we can also change the situation. We can always make it better, depending on how we approach our games and how much effort do we put on our games.
Meanwhile, Orlando Pirates coach Jose Rivero says that their game plan is to make things hard for Kaizer Chiefs in the Nedbank Cup final tomorrow at Moses Mabhida Stadium, as they have done several times. The Spanish tactician enjoys a good record against Amakosi and aims to leave the country without a defeat against them.
Like every other one, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to be one more time in a final representing Orlando Pirates. Is what we were looking for since day one, since we started here together. We were lucky enough and we worked hard enough to find ourselves regularly almost in each and every final since we started. It's something to celebrate one more time. And once you are there, it's about all the topics in the world which are true. Don't play the occasion, focus in the game plan, focus in the way that we feel that we can beat Chiefs, focus in the game that we feel that they can beat us. In order to avoid it, we're going to try to make Chiefs play bad, and we're going to try to play well. That's the intention on the day, and we did it already several times together, and we want to make sure that we are there again.
Meanwhile, Kaizer Chiefs former goalkeeper Itumeleng Khune has urged the players to win the Nedbank Cup for Club Supremo Kaizer Motaung. And Khune says that Soweto Giants must now end the unwanted record of not having won any major silverware since 2015, when he was still part of the team under then coach Stuart Baxter.
Let's hope they will bring their A-plus game come weekend so that they can win it for the old man. Dr. Motaung deserves something. Like having to witness your team not lifting a trophy in 9.5 years, it's not nice. And you've invested so much in the players, in the infrastructure. I think Dr. Motaung deserves to be given the trophy, because he's aging and he has invested so much in that team. So I think the players who are there now, they must think of writing their names in the history books.
And I'm laughing because Ashraf is like, even Ivan Khoza deserves that.
That's my point. It's like, how do you use that as the reason to win the cup? Win it because your goal is to be the best. And winning the cup is a manifestation of being the best.
If anything, I think the Kaizer Chiefs players should be more motivated this time around because they really want to win this cup. And I've been saying probably if they do win, there's going to be like some trophy tour around the country. But talking about the Nedbank Cup final, so we have sent through the tickets to our winners. Remember, we had a competition this week for the Nedbank Cup final, and Actually, one of our listeners was complaining, saying that he didn't get his ticket. So I thought, no, let me just explain that you're going to get an email. Then you have to write your name there. After you write your name, then it will generate itself. I think it might generate the day of the game.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a barcode. You use that barcode, and that's how you go in.
This is the way things are happening nowadays.
That's the way things are happening. So we're not scamming anyone. It's just gone digital now.
And if they don't have tickets?
If you don't have tickets, please don't go to the stadium. There's fan parks around Durban, also here in Joburg, but mostly I'm talking about Durban. If you don't have a ticket, don't go there because it's going to be a mess.
And according to the KZN spokesperson, if you have a ticket and you're not going and you want to sell it at the stadium, it's a criminal offense. Do not sell it.
Just give it away.
Don't take my word for it. That's what he said. Listen to the podcast. Check it out. We'll actually tweet it. I'll get Vusani to tweet it out as well. But check it out on the SAFM website too. Yeah.
But that's it.
Amatax ladies and Twitli Twatla ladies are meeting for a tense battle. They are both in search of 3 crucial points. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the spectacular action of Mzansi Women's Football, University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Royal AM Ladies FC, the Sunday 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This May, SAFM celebrates Africa Month with you as we honor the legacy of the Organization of African Unity. We bring you rich conversations and stories that shape the continent. Join us as we celebrate African pride, unity, and progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And all those numbers come from Jimmy Moyaha on a Friday before the weekend. Jimmy, what have you got?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. I'm pleased to report that we're going into the weekend in calm territory, despite the fact that President Donald Trump tried to move the markets again, came out saying that now would be a good time to buy stocks because it's about to get really interesting for America. Markets didn't seem to take that at face value. There were some positive movements in the markets, though. The Nikkei was up about 1.5%, the biggest gainer in Asian markets. All European markets finished in the green. The CAC 40 up about 0.75%, the biggest winner there. Local markets had a really good day, rebounding off of yesterday's rather disastrous performance. But the financial stocks were amongst the big performers there, about 1.6% up, 1.06%, sorry, rather. The industrials up about almost 1%, and resources up 1.4%. The all share was up 1%, and the top 40 was up 1.1%. The rand's a little weaker, though, against the dollar, 18.23. The sun yesterday when we spoke, it was around 18.19. So a little bit weaker there going into the weekend, but not too much to worry about at this stage. One British pound will cost you 24.25, 1 euro, 20.54, 1 Australian dollar, 11.70. On the commodity side of things, Brent crude is at $63.50 a barrel, a little closer to $65 a barrel, but not there yet. Platinum just under $1,000 a fine ounce, palladium $984 a fine ounce, and the gold price $3,340 odd a fine ounce, a little bit weaker than where it was this time yesterday. The price of a Bitcoin is still moving in positive territory, currently sitting around $102,000 per Bitcoin. In Rand terms, that's around the 1.8 million Rand mark. We still haven't yet hit, it's about 1.87 million. We haven't hit 1.9 million or the 2 million Rand mark. Going into next week, I think we might have a bit of a calmer week before that third week of May for us. The final 2 weeks of May are going to be big weeks because we have the budget speech, of course, taking place on the 21st, and the week after that we'll have the rates decision from our central bank. So next week might just be a bit of a calmer week for South African market, but we'll keep an eye out for what comes out in that week in preparation of course, the big budget speech later in the month. But for now, we take the win going into the weekend. The Rand holding steady below 1850, so we take that as a win as well. And hopefully we come back to a stronger week.
And we'll leave it at that. A stronger week is what we want. Thanks for that, Jimmy. And we will connect on Monday, right? Are you a cup of coffee? But that we'll talk about it off air, right? Absolutely. Right. Let's get to the other person we're having a chat with, Mashudu Chifularo, and we'll do that right away.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Now we'll go all the way up to 6 o'clock with Professor Mashudu Chifularo. Now, before the break, you spoke about that teacher, done. But what I find is interesting is that your family, and tell me about this, your family are academics, and some of the notes talked about the role that your mother in particular made in setting the standards of excellence in what all of you do.
Yes, I think there's something unique about mother. So our mother has always encouraged. Our father was there, but he was not as academic inclined like our mother. Somehow she knew something that we were not aware, that you have to go to school. Because she was a private teacher, then, there was a private teacher where you can teach without qualification. So that's when she started to appreciate education. She was at a missionary hospital, and she was with the missionary school. So she appreciated that education is very important. And luckily, our brain cells were not so bad. So when we go to school, we'll be passing from one class to another. And personally, I enjoy schooling. I don't think I miss any school day.
Is it?
From January to November, because I love to learn something new. Yes.
And I understand, in your family, your extended family, you got like 6 or 7 doctors, just medical doctors, besides others. That's incredible.
Yes. So when you call us, you have to call us by first name. You don't just say Dr. Chifularo. We'll say which one. And you might think I'm being funny. I'm not sure if I've told you this story. There was a time when my younger brother was a general practitioner. I was a specialist. My brother, a doctor. So the letter was written, Dr. Chifularo, referred by Dr. Chifularo to Dr. Chifularo. And people who saw the referral from Limpopo private hospital, medical clinic then, they say it's tautology. I said, what do you mean? This is true. We are all doctors.
Oh, what a lovely story.
So that's how it is.
What a lovely story. I also understand, besides other things, you're a preacher too. You preach. You got time to preach. Tell me about that.
No, I have time to preach. I've been ordained twice, and I've done 2 theological courses also. And I've been preaching since 2013. I run my own church. So on weekend, I do run the church, and during the week in between, but I get other assistant pastor to help me, because I always say that God calls busy people. So which means whatever that small chance that I get, I utilize it to the fullest. I don't do preaching to make money. I do preaching because it's a call.
And when you preach, you pastor you Pastor Chifularo as you preach. That's your title, yeah?
I'm a reverend.
Reverend Chifularo. I hope
Reverend Jacob Israel.
Okay.
Reverend Jacob Israel Chifularo.
All right. Yeah, at least they got the right Chifularo. Can you imagine if there's 5 reverends? Then we'll have another story. I'm just thinking about that. Right. Let's ask you. I want to ask you a few things. What book are you reading right now? Is there a book that you're reading that's really interesting?
I'm reading a very interesting book that talks about, written by the former Deputy Chief Justice Tigani Msenege, that I'm my own liberator.
Yeah.
I met him and we shook hands and we exchanged book. I write book, and he gave me his book of his life story. And so I'm busy reading it.
And I've
I'm appreciating that I liberate myself.
Yeah, Dikgang Motsoeneng is an amazing human being, absolutely. In fact, we need to get him as a guest on this show. I'm telling you soon, right? What about, and then have you written a book? You said you write books as well. What books have you written?
I've written almost 7 books. I think most of them, they're more spiritual, but one that I wrote philosophical is the book entitled Will Drive. There is a will and there's a willpower. But between the will and the willpower, you need to have something to connect the two, which is will drive.
Will drive.
And the opening statement says, if wishes were beggars, if beggars were wishes, beggars will ride. In other words, you might wish something to happen, but until you do something, nothing will happen. And I love this quote that I use now, that the world does not give you what you deserve, but it gives you what you work hard for.
Yeah, very good point.
In other words, you need to work all the time.
All the time. You have to work hard. Very important. Right, there's a few more questions I'll put to you right after this.
Bafana want to seal their envelope to East Africa with a paramount victory in front of their home fans. But the Flames plan to double the heat. This is the second leg of the final round of the Total Energies CAF Chan 2025 qualifiers. South Africa tackles Malawi on Sunday, 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Catch SAFTA award-winning cooking reality show The Tastemaster SA from Tuesday the 13th of May at 7:30. Watch as 10 talented contestants take on delicious challenges to impress celebrity chef Zola Nene along with special guest judges. Don't miss the season premiere, a heartfelt tribute to the incredible moms who inspire us all. That's Tuesday the 13th at 7:30 p.m. The Tastemaster SA, only on SABC2.
The Weekend View on SAFM.
So, what are the odds of the College Cardinals electing an African Pope? That's our question that we are asking you this morning.
Yeah, absolutely right. And there's a lot of talk about geography. As we mentioned, Pope Francis coming from the Southern Hemisphere, coming from Argentina. Some saying that should continue. We should have a Pope from outside of Europe, outside of Italy. Talk about whether there should be an Asian Pope, whether there should be an African Pope.
Is South Africa's freedom shaping a shared future for all its citizens?
As Nishan was saying, what was even started in the first 10 years of our democracy is being cannibalized. And you don't have to look any further than most of the surveys are saying public institutions are losing their legitimacy.
How is SADC viewing this one?
So you basically have almost a total absence of leadership on this continent.
The Weekend View, Saturdays and Sundays, 6 to 7 a.m. X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, we have a few more minutes with Professor Mashudu Chifularo. You must be inspired by this. You absolutely have to. We've got some voices from people. Let me play them very quickly. Here's one.
I really like that quote. And the other one that should be surprised. I just got
Good
it from
evening, Asha. This is Lala Poshogo.
I'm not competing
from Bologwane. I'm one of the patients of Professor Chifularo. And I can tell you that the man is indeed a genius. Every time when I met him, he has been very influential to me. I also had a problem with the brain tumor issues. He helped me twice in the past 15 years. Thank you very much.
Oh, there we are. Couldn't hear it very clearly. I tell you, I heard it. You need to, when you send a voice note, just turn my volume off of the radio at that moment in time so we can hear you very clearly. But I got that Lala, who's a patient of Prof. Chifularo, says the Prof is a genius. And wow, here's another.
It certainly is.
Wow, Ashraf, this is absolutely wonderful. Congratulations to the professor and to the country as a whole. This gives me great heart for those of us who cannot see properly. Good luck, Professor.
There we are. Again, when you do send a voice note, just get my tone down so we can hear you very, very clearly. Right, we've got a few more minutes to go. I like to use this opportunity of you giving a shout out to a young South African that I don't quite know about, but, well, tell us all about that person so that the whole country knows now.
I'm going to give a shout out to one of my trainees. She's a young lady. Her name is Dr. Sirwalo Ramakaga. She's a head and neck surgeon. She was with me for a long time. Now she's running her own private practice in Sandton. She's a very, very, very strong. And I feel very proud that at least as I climb the ladder, I also pull others up. I don't kick the ladder. So she's one of the young, bright, African young female that people must watch out for. Dr. Sirwalo Ramakaga. Right. She's a head and neck surgeon.
Well, now we
I have many to mention.
I know.
But she's a tower.
Okay, now we all know. Lift as you rise. I think that's what Bonang Mohale often talks about. So you are a manifestation of that, right? What about? I mean, if you had to, get one or two people around a table to solve the country's problems, who would you choose to sit with you? Very quickly, yeah.
You're going to be surprised because I think one of them that I'm going to ask, I'd like to sit with Elon Musk. You can ask me why.
Why?
He's a genius.
He is a genius.
He's a genius.
What would you ask him?
I'll ask him that how does he come out with such brilliant idea? And yes, not many people will agree with him in whatever way, but a genius is a genius.
Okay.
So I'll just like to listen to him. What makes him tick?
Elon Musk.
So that I know that I'm on the right track.
All right. Who else will join you on that table? Because I said one other
You
person.
have his number. Call him. I would like to talk to him if you get his number.
In fact, the chairperson of ESCOM, the ESCOM chair made the same request as well. Mteto also wants to have coffee with Elon Musk, and it's not quite happened as yet, right? I mean, you've done lots of things. What legacy would you like to be leaving? I mean, you've in terms of your work and your foundation, perhaps. What legacy do you want to leave?
I think I want to be remembered as a servant who serve the nation and who serve the people, who make an impact and make a difference on everybody that I meet. It's my motto that every day, every time, if I meet you, I must make your life better than before I met you. So even if it's anywhere, it's only that you are scared now, you can't stop and help everybody. But I must make a difference in your life. You must look at life differently. So I want to be remembered as that young man who was always positive about life and look forward to say, why am I here on earth?
Mm-hmm.
I must leave an impression.
So why are you always positive? I mean, what has been the trigger for you to be always positive?
It's because, I live and I work with sick people. And I look around and I see, and I said, some of these people, they never chose to have all this bad condition. We in the medical field, we're supposed to be the most people who are grateful and most people who believe. You cannot buy health. And so that makes me grateful all the time. I thank the man above or God for being healthy and well and having an opportunity to do what I do. I enjoy it every day and I can wake up doing it without even a pay.
Wonderful. Without even a pay. So we got 30 seconds. We'll wrap up with this. South Africa is a country of many problems. We know that. But if there's just one thing that you can use your talent to fix in the country, what would that be?
It is to make each one of our South African to believe in ourselves and want to make sure that we are champion in every area and not want to look for answers from somewhere else. I think one thing that we have lost is to believe in that we can solve our problems ourselves and look on the bigger picture and the generation to come. We must not destroy this country for the sake of saying, I am the first, I must remain the first. It's a cheap price. So I'll encourage everyone to be a good citizen. Don't throw things all over and don't break things. Try to make sure that we fix our own problem and make this country a better. There's no better place to be like in South Africa. In many ways, we have our challenges, but this is the best place to be.
Well,
I can be anywhere. I'm happy to be here.
I'm going to leave it at that. This is the best place to be. Did you hear that? Especially those who are taking out refugee status in the USA. This is the best place to be. Great to chat to you as always, Professor Mashudu Chifularo. Hopefully we'll have coffee one time soon once again, and maybe you'll have your chat with Elon Musk. I just wonder how that's going to go. But a privilege to talk to you, and I know you continue to inspire people along your own champion path and inspire them to become champions at what they do. So what a privilege. Thank you for chatting to us here and on being this fireside chat on the National Pulse. Well, that's the show. That's the show for today. We'll do it all again on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. It's punctuated by Kaizer Chiefs versus Orlando Pirates. And we'll talk about that on Monday, of course, right? Here's the news at 6.
Concern over Swane's sinkholes, and the U.S. ambassador speaks on Gaza aid. Good evening. The city of Swane's Kulofelo Morodi confirmed that over 60 sinkholes across the metro have been declared a disaster. During a visit to Littleton and Centurion, south of Pretoria, where one of the sinkholes is formed, Morodi said power has been restored to nearby areas and water tankers are being dispatched to assist affected residents. She's also confirmed that the city's requested support from the national government.
The mayor has written to the Minister of COGTA to have to assist us with that classification. So with this as well, the Chief of Emergency will also come so that we can do the classification, and that will help us with funds because we need money to have this done. And as a city, we know we've been going on this drive to get our revenue going. We need more than 15 million at this stage.
The DA says it's of the view that the people of Oranje in the Northern Cape and Kleinfontein in Gauteng are entitled, through the Constitution, to obtain self-determination. The party was speaking during a mini-plenary discussion in Parliament about the creation of these establishments post-apartheid. DA MP Nadinana.
So let us begin with